Welcome to Gabbin' Games for May 12th. We are going to start. If you're listening to the podcast version, you'll need to, if you don't mind, skip ahead. Only because there'll be a little bit of dead air while I tweet this out, play the intro song, and then we'll get started. So check the time code, timestamps. Hope you're well. We'll start in just 2 seconds. Thanks, y'all. Well, I'll tell you what, we got ourselves a hootenanny of a show, fellas. There's a lot of news breaking today, and we're going to talk about it all. Be patient, because obviously it's going to take a little bit of time to let the folks roll in. So we will start, as we tend to do, with the news. Hang on, fellas. I apologize for running so late today. It's just been a very busy week, getting all kinds of stuff done, worked out. But I'm here. You are here. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. If you're listening to the podcast, thank you for putting up with my adjusting these ads. I'm not entirely sure yet how I want to get them displayed on the screen, but we're getting there. So, hello, everybody. Welcome to Gabbing Games for, I think it's the 12th. Is it the 12th? May something. We're in May. We're in May. May 12th. That's right. Obviously, we're going to talk about the Starfield delay coming up. We're going to talk about Jimbo Ryan and cats and abortions and all kinds of strange things he mentioned today. And we're going to talk about a bunch of other stuff. The phone lines on Discord are open. At various times, I will open up the red phone for you to call in on your cell phone if that's how you'd like to communicate. And obviously, super chats are certainly not necessary, but they are welcome. I will read all of those, and from time to time, I will glance over at the full chat when it seems to be a good breaking point. Otherwise, I get too distracted by it because I have a case of the ADD, fellas. That's just how it goes up in these here streets. I'm not down. If you notice a lack of energy, it's not a lack of energy. It's an awareness of the monumental task in front of all of us, which is going through today's news. There is so much that I don't want to miss any of it. I don't want to say you got to do that later, do that tomorrow. So I need to keep all my energy so we can jump in here and really deliver you guys the information that you need to thrive in this world. Let's start right now. So I went to USC. This is happening right now. Now, I don't want you to run away and watch it instead of watching me, but if you got to, you got to. But this is really, really cool. It's on IGN. It's over 10 hours of programming. USC has, according to, I believe it was Harvard that did the study, the #1 ranked video game school in the world. And I went there. I can attest. They graduate a lot of people who go on to do a lot of big things in entertainment. This is the school that Genova Chen and that game company came out of. There was another recent announcement of a game that they started life at USC that's gone on to become a big indie darling. Depending on what you're after in the world of video game creation, assuming that's what you might want to do with your life, depending on that, there are certain jobs in the industry that I would highly recommend going to school for in terms of design. Other ones, I'm like, yeah, fuck it, don't do it. But anyway, here's what's happening. So this is the end of the year for these kid folks. This is the head of the department right here. You can watch this later today or tomorrow or whatever. These are their student projects, right? And so what you're going to see is you're going to see a lot of Me Too shit. It's going to be like watching Dreams from PlayStation, where it's just like, oh, look, I made something I've played before, and I gave it a twist because the professor said don't just rip something off, but it's kind of stupid and dumb. But you're going to see some fucking gems in there as well. You're going to see some really cutting-edge design, less about tech, more about design from people who may very well be the next movers and shakers of the business. So I highly recommend it. It's over on IGN and Twitch, but just go to IGN when you're ready. And not only, what's cool about this is not only are they going to be showing their games, you can download every single game that they show. So if you see something you like that tickles your fancy, go on over there and give it a download if you have a PC. The other thing is, I want to say I saw something this morning that they may be trying to move part of their program into high schools and junior highs. I would have lost my shit, man, if I was a kid in junior high and suddenly here comes USC. It's like, hey, you guys want to set up a program so your students can learn how to make video games? I'm like, are you out of your fucking mind? You goddamn right I do. So this is pretty cool. This is happening right now. It's the USC Games Expo 2022. By the way, if you roll back to the very beginning, the guy who runs this program, and given that this is IGN's horseshit media player, I don't know if I can rewind it, the guy who runs this program is the father. He used to run THQ, whatever. Now he runs this, whatever. What's cool about him is he's the dad of the girl who played Summer on what was that thing called? The OC. Remember Seth and he liked Summer? Summer's his daughter. I have never met her. I've never met him, but I always thought that would be cool to go back to USC. How pathetic is that? I'm going to go back to USC because maybe I'll meet the actress who's probably married 20 times already who played Summer. Listen, this is where my head goes, kids. This is what it's called, you know, when you get a little older and you start losing your fucking mind. Okay, so listen, but there you go. Check it out. Highly recommended. All right. Okay. One more thing. Right now, and I'll put the link up. If you are a member, like I said, you guys are like, where's your energy, Jaffe? I'm telling you, I've got to take it easy right now. There's so much to talk about. I cannot burn it all out at the beginning. There's a link there if you're a member over on the YouTube's community. This Saturday around 4 o'clock California time, we will be doing either Pot or Popcorn double feature. We may do Uncharted. We may do The Northman. I don't know what we're going to do yet. Or we're going to do game night. And game night's going to be all free games, all cross-play titles. So it'll be stuff like Fortnite. It'll be stuff like Warzone. So no one has an excuse that, like, I don't have it. I don't have that system. So members will get first seating at the table. And we're doing a vote right now. Right now, 52% of the audience of the membership wants Pot and Popcorn. And 48% want game night. So let's kind of see where we end up. Proto SX says Jaffe pop an Adderall. I did right before the show. I take a mega ADD pill in the morning with one little piece of Ritalin, and then I take a full-on Ritalin around 2 o'clock. So I just popped it a little bit a while ago. Hello, Mike Y. Good to see you, buddy. Okay. Jaffe, when are you going to cut the Sony as garbage shtick and be a real human being? Coward ass. We have mods here. Somebody keep an eye on this guy. I think he wants attention. What I will tell you is, assuming you're a troll, whatever. Ha 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 ha. Oh, Rob, you take your Adderall in the morning. Exactly. It's great, isn't it? I'm not a speed freak. I have genuine ADD, Darth Nugget. Brosy Brosum, what I will tell you is, if you're a troll, you're great. Oh my God, he's so funny. I've never seen anything like that. But assuming that you're not, that's true. Proto S says, you know, call in if you want to talk smack. I have no problem if you want to call in live on your phone when I put up the red phone. Call in and let's debate that. But what I was going to say about that, though, about cut the Sony as garbage stick, you know, there are people out there, Brony Brosum, who genuinely think that I have a dog in this fight. Like, no matter what I do, no matter what I say to these people, no matter what evidence I provide these people, that I am clearly an agnostic in this stupid little, quote, console war, which really, if you're a part of, you should be embarrassed by. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. They just refuse to believe it. Okay, let's talk about some other big news that on any other day would have been the lead news, but it's not. I'm going to kick it off with a little preamble, then I'm going to tell you the main news from this story. Today, the U.S. Games Industry Business, or usgameindustry.biz, awarded the very first best places to work in video games. Would you like to hear them? I know I would. The highest scoring small companies, and this was after awards themselves are decided by an in-depth survey of employees, okay? The best small companies, 10 to 40 people, and I've never heard of any of these. Big Run Studios, Phoenix Labs, Pragma Platform, and Virtuous. Okay. The best mid-sized game companies. Now, again, maybe this whole episode eventually, really the theme that we discover at the end is about people who want to work in the video game business. Because, hey, you know, keep an eye out for this. You know, if you're like, hey, I need to go work at a video game company, go work at the good ones, man. I'll tell you what the survey included to tell you how they arrived at these awards. The best mid-sized companies are 47 Communication in television. That's quite surprising. Maybe if somebody put a gun to my head and said, do you believe in television genuinely earned that? Or did they kind of push their staff to vote that way? I would say, man, maybe it might be the latter, but I don't know. Parsec, Shell Games, which I believe, I have a buddy who works over there, and Servios. The two top largest game companies to work at, the best places to work, are Iron Galaxy Studios, and he'll hold your hats, baby, because this leads into the news from yesterday. Respawn Entertainment, the makers of, well, for a long time, what was that fucking game, which was awesome? The Titanfall series, and now they're doing the Star Wars. So, let's see. They said it's an employee survey, 60 statements to staff to agree or disagree with. The survey covered numerous topics, including working environment, work-life balance, management, diversity, and more. There were also special awards. I'll give them to you right now. The Diversity Award went to Shell Games. The Crisis Management Award, I don't know what these mean, went to Big Run Studios. The Corporate Social Responsibility Award went to I Am 8-Bit. The Education Award went to Virtuous. The Health and Wellbeing went to Survivus. And the U.S. Best Boss Award went to Hayden Blackman from Hangar 13. It may say something that you don't really... I don't know. I wonder what these companies have done. I should have looked that up, but I was running a little bit late. I know Shell Games has done some really good things, like I Expect You to Die and stuff, but I wonder, you know, I wonder if there's a connection. If you look up, let's just look up real quick, Big Run Studios. I'm curious what they have done, because is it like, we made a match 3 game, you know, about monkeys, and it took us a week, you know? I mean, yeah, so this is what Big Run Studios does. I'll put it on the screen if you're watching. You know, their apps, they look fairly simple. I mean, every game is hard. Every game is a success that needs to be, you know, shipped, or that manages to ship itself. But yeah, well, of course, a game like this that's built on a template of games that already existed, and you're just changing art assets and tweaking some elements, of course that's gonna, you know, I'm not saying it's not hard, but I'm saying, come on, let's keep it in perspective. Although Respawn, now this is where the news gets interesting. So yesterday, this is coming from Respawn. You may have seen this news story. This is a lady named Nora Sharmick on the YouTube, or on the Twitter. She goes by Nora Neverboria. When I worked, here's what she says. When I worked on Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, I think she is an artiste. Let me find out. She's the lighting lead. She's a lighter tech person, so she lights the scenes. When I worked on Jedi Fallen Order, a lot of devs wanted and advocated for the main character to be black and or a woman. Quote, reasons for no. We already have 2 black people in the game. Rey is a woman from, you know, the new sequels. And we can't do that to guess what the demographic... Oh, we can't do that to the demographic of people making... Wait. And okay. Rey is a woman. This is not me, you guys. I'm not having a stroke. She's written this to get all the characters in Twitter, and it's hard to parse. Rey is a woman, and we can't do that as well. And then she says, guess what the demographic of the people making those decisions looked like. And so this you know, what was really annoying to me about this, but this is the press, this is what they do. Any complaint, they blow up as a big headline, and they run screaming into the hills with megaphones. Look at this bad thing that happened. And it's like, I don't know why. I mean, maybe because it's just their story. It's like, oh, we can make that a story. We don't really care if we believe it. But, you know, anybody who's worked in corporate life knows there are always disgruntled people. And I'm not saying she was disgruntled, but clearly this particular scenario bothered her. Here she is over a year later, 2 years later, tweeting about it. But anyone who's worked in corporate life knows that people are going to be annoyed, and just because they're annoyed doesn't mean they're right. So, you know, the fact that the press wouldn't dig into this more before they started splashing the headlines everywhere. When I worked on Jedi Fallen Order, a lot of devs wanted and advocated for the main character to be black and or a woman, says Nora. Well, what is a lot? First off, let's be clear. Who cares? Okay, unless you've joined a development team or a publisher that says this is a democracy, and everybody gets a vote, and at the end we'll, you know, add up the votes, and every design decision is run through that process. I mean, that would be a reason to be upset. But you're a lighting person. And no matter who you are, if you're the CTO of the company, end of the day, there are people that are hired to make those decisions. Now, you can disagree with those decisions all you want, but A, the game was a hit. B, the game was diverse. I mean, there were women in the game. There were people of color in the game. And the idea that the director, who was Stig, or the writer or the publisher, whoever made the final call, chose to go a way you didn't like. It reminds me of that Xavier guy who worked at Insomniac, which again is usually ranked as one of the best places to work in video games, who was like, you know, we got really upset because, or some of us got really upset because they wanted to make Rivet super sexy. And we push back. It's like, it's not a democracy. It's not, you don't go to a buffet when you go to your job and it's like, what do you want to have control over today? It's not that. You're working on a team with hundreds of people. People have to make decisions. And for whatever reason in your career, Xavier, Nora, you haven't gone or gotten or wanted to be in the position to make those decisions. And just because a lot of devs, I mean, that's totally subjective, but let's say it was 50% of the staff. If it was 99% of the staff, it doesn't really matter. Okay, unless you get into a political situation and go, if we don't keep these 3 people happy, we have bigger problems than maybe we take a commercial hit if we design a character that we don't think is as commercial. But, I mean, I can tell you when we were doing, oh, it's so obnoxious, you guys. It is so fucking obnoxious. It's the corporate version of when you have a charismatic person at a focus test. And that person who's charismatic and has a lot to say totally steamrolls everybody else. And it skews the data, right? I remember before we locked on God of War, I was going around trying to find a game. What were we going to make internally once Kinetica wrapped up? And, you know, I'd go around the studio all the time. It's like, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? Just kind of getting feedback because I wanted feedback. And so at one point, the art director at the time calls me over and says, we've got it, we've got it. I'm like, okay, cool. So I go over there, and it's this very charismatic concept artist who has somehow corralled, I guess via his charisma, 80% of the art team around him, and he's pitching me this thing that he's already sold the art team on. And it was fine. It was about some eco-terrorist whatever. But I was like, yeah, no, I don't, you know, I knew Kinetica wasn't going to be a hit because this same individual, by the way, didn't have anybody in management pushing back when they took the concept of motocross bikes riding up, you know, skyscrapers, and it became this futuristic ass bikes game that didn't sell. I was just like, you know, look, that's going to fail, and it did. We need something more commercial than what you're proposing, but I love that you guys love it. Let me think about what it is you guys love about it. Maybe it can be incorporated, but we're not going to do that. Well, that team could have easily gone on and been like, you know, we all wanted to make this. A lot of us wanted to do a game about the environment, and they said no. And then suddenly the marketing or the PR runs with, not the PR, the media runs with, you know, Sony shuts down game that devs wanted to make a environmentally conscious game, and Sony was like, no. It's like, that's not really what happened. So I found this story very distasteful, just because the way the media treated it. And again, this woman, she may be a perfectly great coworker. She may be awesome. But the idea that just because you didn't get your way, there was some injustice being done, I mean, that's possible. But, you know, you guys just got the biggest, or you've left the company since then, but Respawn just got the best, biggest company to work at in video games in America awards. And I know Stig, who directed this game. My guess is you weren't shut down because they were like, you guys suck, fuck you, I'm doing what I want to do. It was more, okay, I hear you, but we're not doing that for whatever reason. So just, this bothered me. Let me get this message here from one of our longtime members, who I appreciate all you guys. I appreciate you guys very much. Here's what he has to say to your old Papa Jaffe. He says, Jaffe, where did it go? Where did it go? Hang on. This is from Rory. Grimshaw's been a member for 2 months. I appreciate it. He says, hey, I sure hope Xbox has something to announce for 2022 next month. Otherwise, this year isn't looking great for them. You're not wrong, and we will talk specifically about that, as well as some rumors about what may be coming or what may be being shown. Dwight, you ignorant slut one, says, now that I think about it, diversity is a hard thing to do in Star Wars. How do you go about determining the race gender of the main character in a fantasy game? I think there's a million reasons or a million ways to do it. I think, you know, it's sort of what is the story that the key creatives want to tell. It's not a, you know, gamers and developers, and maybe, you know, I hate to bang the Gen Z or right above Gen Z drum, but maybe it is this sense of like entitlement of we should all have a say. We're all special. It's like, nah, you're not. You're special as a human. You're probably special to the people who love you, but until you prove yourself worthy of a seat at the creative captain's table, no, you're not. God of War, all the games I've ever worked on, you could always tell the people who felt they deserved a seat at the table. They were often different than the ones who simply got a seat because they earned it through consistently providing the game with good ideas and hard work and passion and work ethic. Those are the people who got the seat, not the person who was like, I can be a designer too. I don't give a fuck what you want. I want a game to be a hit. That's my job. And if you can contribute to the game being a hit, we're in business, baby. If you can't, I don't care. I don't care what you want. Brett Moore, thank you, buddy. He's been a member here for 3 months. I appreciate it, buddy. Thank you so much. Bring back the beard, he says. Well, it's not much I can do about it. The thing is, I'm surprised more people with ADD don't have beards, because the reason I have the beard is I'm too fucking, it's too fucking boring to shave it. So I only get motivated when it gets so long I can't stop chewing on it. So we got ourselves a few months of this, fellas. That's probably what's going to happen. But I appreciate it, buddy. Okay. All right. So that's going on in the news. What else? What else is happening, fellas? What else is happening out in the world of the game world we love? I'll tell you. Listen to this. Now, I want to talk about Horizon for a moment. Sony hasn't really released any numbers. They haven't trumpeted, oh, we sold 40 million in the first month or anything like that. Which doesn't mean the game is a hit or a flop or anywhere in the middle. It just means that's a little weird, because when there is a big success they have first party, they'll tell you about it, right? I'm not saying it's not a great game. I've only played it. I have only played Horizon Forbidden West enough to know a few things. Number one, it gives Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart a run for its money in being the best looking game ever made. It controls beautifully. The combat is phenomenal. And also, so far, the main character bores the shit out of me, and the game itself is pretty rote, been there, done that. But people tell me it's wonderful, and when I finish Elden Ring, I plan to go back to it. So I'm not talking about the quality of the game. I'm talking simply about sales. Because I know there are people who fucking adore it, and that's fucking awesome. And that's great. And I'm sure it's profitable. I don't think it's a flop. But the reason I bring it up is I'm trying to figure out the variance in sales on this. So if you go to the UK, where there have been a lot more PlayStations for sale, which has allowed some of the PlayStation games to kind of, as they do, pop back into the top of the charts. You see Horizon Forbidden West went from 4 last week. It was out of the charts almost to 3 this week. This is box games, right? This is people who buy box products. So it's like, it's interesting. All right, good. That in Elden Ring's at 7. I mean, Elden Ring has made its big, you know, I think they said it sold like over 14 million copies in the first month. It's a smash hit if there ever was one. And it'll probably perpetually be in the top 15 for the next 5 years. But it's not like, oh, it beat Elden Ring. No, it didn't. But it did. Horizon has some legs. At least in the UK, because if you look at what Sony put out yesterday, they put out their monthly PS5 download chart. Now, this doesn't really take stock into account, because everybody who's contributed their choices that have contributed to this chart own a PS5, obviously. So what's really interesting about it is Horizon Forbidden West in both America, Canada, and Europe is not even in the top 10. Miles Morales is number 9, which is a brilliant fucking game, by the way. Gran Turismo is number 8. So it's clear there's a bunch of people with a brand new system. MLB The Show is number 2. But even in the UK at first, I was like, well, this chart with the box products where Horizon sits at number 3 is from the UK. But in America, the UK digital, it's not even in the top. It's number 14. So I don't know. I mean, you could kind of read into this in a couple of ways. You could read into it that if you buy a PlayStation, and there were a lot available in the UK last week, everybody wants it. But if you already have a PS5 and you're contributing to this digital-only chart over the course of a month, maybe you've already gotten it. I don't really know. But you would think that same logic could apply to Miles Morales, which was a day one ship title. Or Mortal Kombat 11, or any of these other titles that are ahead of it, but it's not. So I don't bring it up, even though I know some of you guys will, because that's what you do. I don't bring it up to bash the thing. I bring it up because I'm genuinely curious how this is doing out in the world. Irfan GG1 says PS players mostly want to buy games physically. I did see that. I saw that stat. I don't think it's as high as 70, but I want to say I saw an article recently, like last week, that said 70% in a survey of PlayStation 4 and 5 owners choose physical. But that isn't true, because we know digital in consoles does and PC, of course, outsells physical. Digital outsells physical. But still, you're right. There is a big group of people who want to own it. But again, then you would be seeing the same thing on all of these, right? I mean, ultimately, if somebody wants to own a game and they decide to buy Elden Ring and WWE 2K and Tiny Tina and Cyberpunk, all games that were well ahead of Horizon last month, it's still, the scale still tracks. You still have Horizon being the 12th choice they made, unless you're, I don't know. I mean, unless you're saying that if you buy physical, you tend to like Horizon more. I don't know. Yeah, Rathy says I haven't bought a physical game in 10 years. The only physical game I bought recently was Fast and Furious Crossroads, which I loved. I know a lot of people hated. But I loved it, and I wanted to have a physical copy of it because it's already been delisted. Brian King, famous for his PlayStation fandom, says, some games only come out digital. True. So that is already skews against physical. Physical is strong on PS and Nintendo. Sure, but none of these games, if you look at your screen, none of these games, I think all of these games are available both. Lego, MLB, Elden, 2K, Wonderland, NBA, Cyberpunk, GT7, Miles Morales, Madden, Mortal Kombat. Yeah, all of these are physical and digital. So I don't imagine it would be making that big of a difference. But anyway, there you go. I don't know where it's at. Hopefully we will get some news relatively soon. Let's talk briefly, because I just find it fascinating, about FIFA. I am not a FIFA guy. I am not a football, soccer, whatever the fuck you choose to call it guy. I do love Ted Lasso. That's a great fucking show. But what I find more interesting is this statement, and I guess what are you going to do? I mean, you got to put out a brave front. I won't read you the whole thing, but here's the gist. FIFA, as you probably know, has gone their separate ways with EA, which has had the insanely popular, incredibly lucrative FIFA license and FIFA game for, I think, decades at this point, certainly over 10 years. And I guess EA, there were some design choices they wanted to do that FIFA wouldn't let them, and there were also, budgetary issues and deal issues of, like, keeping the name, and EA came to the conclusion, which I think is incredibly correct, nobody gives a fuck about the name FIFA. We can rebrand it. We'll spend shit tons of money. No one's going to give a fuck that the word FIFA, or the acronym, is it? FIFA is no longer on there. But this is what FIFA shoots back with. I can assure you that the only authentic, real game that has the FIFA name will be the best one available for gamers and football fans. Now, they may be right in that the only authentic, like maybe one of the things that I kind of want to say I heard pushed EA back is they wanted to make the game a little bit more fun, a little bit more accessible, and that's not authentic. So maybe when the FIFA head says, hey, the only authentic one will have the FIFA name, sure, whatever. The FIFA name is the only global original title. FIFA 23, 24, 25, and 26, and so on. The constant is the FIFA name, and it will remain forever and remain the best. If this guy's an idiot, or he's just banging the drum because that's his job, and he in his head is going, I'm a fucking moron. The interactive gaming and esports sector is on a path of unrivaled growth, he continues, and diversification. FIFA strategies to ensure that we can make the most of all future options and ensure a wide range of products and opportunities for gamers, fans, member associations, and partners. Fine, whatever. Good luck with that, fellas. Good fucking luck is all I'll say. Because here's the thing. EA does not need FIFA to have the players or the stadiums. This is from Forbes. It says, it's important to recognize that FIFA without FIFA would still mostly mean the game FIFA without the FIFA brand would still mostly be the same game that it is now. Obviously, and this is me adding, with more freedom to design for a better experience that may not be as authentic, but will be more fun. Back to Forbes. It's not the case that if EA no longer had the FIFA license, they would lose all rights to the team and player names. Those deals are negotiated with separate organizations like the UEFA, which runs the Champions Leagues, blah, blah. And then it gets into boring shit that only weird Europeans care about. It's fucking football bullshit. But the point is, I'm kidding. I love Ted Lasso. But the point is, though, is it's like, yeah, most people aren't going to notice a difference. And if it's still the game that people love, I mean, FIFA, here's what I'd say. FIFA has an opportunity to find a great developer. I don't know what kind of money they've got, probably a shit ton, but to find a great developer and, kind of cut EA off at the pass in terms of there's no packs to unlock, there's no microtransactions, transactions. We're not doing any of that shit, but I don't think they're going to do that. But anyway, there you go. I thought that was interesting news. A little bit more interesting news. We're about to get to Xbox. Don't worry, I know. In fact, let's talk about Xbox right now. We're not going to talk about Starfield just yet, but just in a few minutes, okay? But I want to tell you something. This is very interesting to me. There's a pretty trustworthy rumor. It's not even a rumor. It's deduction based on something Xbox kind of slipped up on. Ubisoft Plus will be part of Xbox Game Pass. Here's how we know this is a probable thing. This is from Game Revolution. Xbox app for Windows had a new feature, and in the feature it said one of our update features is, and this is a quote, improve search results for all PC Game Pass titles, including ones from EA Play and Ubisoft, right? Well, the only Ubisoft game on Game Pass right now is Rainbow Six Extraction. So the fact that they would highlight improve search results for all PC Game Pass titles, including ones from EA Play and Ubisoft, suggest either they don't understand singularity and plurality, which I don't think is the case, or this kind of jumped the gun a little bit, and they fully expect, this has been rumored since January, they fully expect Ubisoft Plus to be on Game Pass. I don't know, obviously, or I would tell you this. I mean, no one knows that does shows like mine. I'm sure somebody must know. I don't know if they're going to charge for it. I mean, you can get Ubisoft Plus on Stadia. You can get it on PC. You can get it on Luna. I don't know if it's on PlayStation yet. It might be, but it's certainly not part of their subscription. It's not part of PS Now or PS Plus. So I don't know if like EA Play, Microsoft's going to make some crazy deal and it's just going to come with Xbox Game Pass Ultimate. Based on today's news, they got to fucking do something. We'll get to that in a second, but they better fucking do something. But anyway, I've had it. Ubisoft Plus is pretty great, actually, for someone like me that likes their games that I want to kind of dip in, and then I'm done. So I'll sub to it for like, because all their shit's day one. So like Phoenix Legends was day one, and the last Far Cry was day one. It's not like EA Play where you get 10 hours. It's the whole fucking game day one. And so for me, it's great because I played Valhalla that way. I got my fill after 4 or 5 hours, and then I cancel it. So if you like but don't love Ubisoft, it's a pretty good way to kind of just sample their wares. It's kind of like going into Missy's Candy and getting a butter chew or something. It's on my mind. Fuck you. But that's what's happening. And I maybe they'll announce that on the stage a month from today. A month from today. Think about that, fellas. That's when we'll know what's happening with the Microsoft. All right, one more piece of Microsoft news. Microsoft, this is actually pretty cool. Now, it's only a patent, but Microsoft patent filed suggests or says that they are going to be able to verify your physical disks for Xbox Digital Library. What that means is if you have an S, and maybe if you have a PC even, there is some new invention, software, hardware, that will allow them to eliminate the need to have the disk drive. The patent describes a system that allows an external disk drive to authenticate. An external disk drive could be the Xbox One, could be your PC, could be anything. An external disk drive to authenticate an Xbox game and allow player access to the digital version of that game through the Xbox Series S game store. So if you are one of these folks that has a big collection of 360 games and original games, and they haven't been turned into backwards compatible games, and even if they have, you have no way of communicating that with your S. Now you have a way of communicating that with your S. I'll tell you what, I don't know if it's just the software infrastructure at Microsoft and Xbox, or if it's they have so many people. But this is one of those things that, like, you know Sony could probably do too. But it's like, yeah, it's not our highest priority. And I'm not saying this is going to make a difference to a lot of people. Maybe it will. I know the S is selling great. But it is interesting that Microsoft does make the time and spend the money to do these kind of side projects. Oh, you want to change your name on Xbox Live? We can do that. Oh, yeah, that's a good point. You have a Series S that has no drive, but you've got like 50 games you love from the 360 era. Oh, yeah, we can figure that out. We can put a couple of guys or girls on that and get it done. Sony's just like, it's almost like Sony's like a startup. It's like, look, we only got 80 people, which we know is not the case. So as I just said, and we're about to get into the Starfield. A month from today, we will be watching 10 o'clock in the morning, Sunday. I will be live streaming it. Consider joining me. It's a lot of fun. Maybe. I don't know. I can't say that. But you ask some members. Maybe they'll think it's fun. I don't fucking know. But what other stream is going to have sounds like this? And this?
Trust me. I'm like a smart person.
Right? Or this?
Hey, look!
Exactly. But here's the point. It'll be a month from now. We get to finally see, hopefully, something that will excite Xbox fans, of which I am one, about the next, 6 to 12 months of existence for this box that a lot of us have gone out and bought, and this subscription a lot of us have signed up for. Culture Vultures wants to tell us, before we get to the cancellation, or not the cancellation, the delay of Starfield and other things, they want to tell you the 10 predictions and games that they want to see. All right, I'm curious. This was yesterday's news, but I'm certainly more curious now in light of what was announced today. Their number one thing they want to see is Starfield. There's no doubt Starfield will be there. There's no doubt they know they have to blow people's fucking minds, and the delay will be, it will not be forgiven, and it should not be forgiven, and we will talk about the delay. However, great game trumps everything else end of the day. And so hopefully what they show on that stage is going to blow people's fucking minds. And if it doesn't, that's a big fucking problem. And maybe that's probably why they wanted the delay. But Starfield is their number one thing. Fable is their number two thing. That one's kind of hit or miss if it's going to show up. It's apparently having some challenges in production. Surprise, surprise, it is a Microsoft studio, although they're a great studio. It's Playground Games. But Forza Horizon 5 DLC, whatever. I loved Forza, but I'm over it. Redfall, which was just delayed, they expect to see that. You'll probably see it. It just looks like another co-op shooter. I'm not really into it. Scorn, oh God, Scorn is dumb. Scorn is the Geiger game, okay? And I love the art style, but it's been an alpha for a while. People said it was boring, and every time they've shown it, ad nauseum, it's just a guy walking around with some David Cronenberg existence-like weapons, loading them. I don't even know if they've shown enemies yet, or if they have, it's totally been forgettable. This thing is whatever. Who gives a fuck? Who gives a fuck? Marvin McNeil, thanks for subbing, buddy. I appreciate that. The Callisto Protocol. Now, I don't know if that's showing or not, but I am incredibly excited about that. This is the spiritual successor to Dead Space from the team that created Dead Space. We'll talk a little bit about the Dead Space stream that happened today, showing off some art changes. But this is Glenn Schofield, who co-created Dead Space. Dead Space 2, which is one of my favorite games, is coming out and saying, hey, we're making a new space sci-fi horror game. Callisto Protocol, I don't know if it's going to be there, but that sure would be nice. Contraband is an Xbox exclusive. That's their number 7 thing they want to see the most. This is from Avalanche Studios and open world kind of thing. I don't fucking know. Stefan, 1904. Thank you for subbing, buddy. I appreciate it. Gears of War Fable Collection. Wake me up when that's over. Killer Instinct 2. Okay. And the last thing is some big Game Pass news. It's literally, that's what they call it. Some big Game Pass news. Xbox showcases like this tend to be the stage where some big Game Pass news is dropped, usually regarding some third-party releases. Okay, so that'll get you in the mood to talk about the news we're about to talk about. I want to tell you, we are going to talk about it, but I want to tell you about 2 very quick things first. And once I'm done talking about these wonderful things, we will dive right in to the show. That's not the wrong thing. There you go. Well, that's not coming up right, but it doesn't matter. I don't know why that's gotten small. Here's the point, though. Look at that. You just pretend it's big. Pretend it's big. I told you I was having a rough day. God damn it, Jaffe. Day 1 Patch Kids. They're the cutest, weirdest, craziest little fucking things you've ever seen in your life. They're by our own Rotten Tanuki. Let me make this bigger because I want you to see the kind of wares this man sells over at his site. He has taken the Garbage Pail Kids and he's merged them with nasty-ass video game characters doing nasty-ass things to each other. He's got shirts, he's got mugs, he's got hats, maybe umbrellas. I definitely saw a shower curtain at one of the sites. He's got a lot of things for these crazy characters. He's even got a Clod of War. There you see him going by right now based on Kratos. And a Sweet Tooth version is up there as well, which you can also see on the wall behind me when I come back from the ad. So check them out, Day 1 Patch Kids, from our very own Rotten Tanuki, day1patchkids.com. Highly recommend it. I also want to let you know about this. Now this was interesting. I got a message the other night from the director of this movie. It's called Dog. He says, look, it's a very own Luca. He says, look, I don't think I'm going to kickstart this anymore. I want to find investors for this. We think it looks great, and it does. It's a vampire horror movie about a kinky vampire who takes these women, this man and this woman home, and they have to survive a night in her fucking weird as fuck horror, scary, cool, sexy castle. So this is called Dog. He says, you know, I think this thing's looking pretty good. Script's pretty good. I want some fucking investors to help me fund the next cult horror classic. So if you want to, you know, fund it via Kickstarter, maybe he's still interested, but right now he is actually talking to investors. So if you ever thought about putting up, I don't know how much he needs right now, but, you know, certainly not $50, but, you know, a decent amount of money to own a piece of the back end of what could be the new sexy horror movie that takes the world by storm. Check out Dog. It's on the link tree. I highly recommend it. Now, I want to tell you something. So today everybody saw the news. That Microsoft puts out. Here it is. Bethesda. I woke up to this news. I'm sure you guys did as well. Bethesda puts out a release. It says, hey, here's an update on Redfall and Starfield. We've made the decision to delay the launches of Redfall and Starfield to the first half of 2023. Let me read that again in case you didn't quite catch it. We've made the decision to delay the launch of Redfall and Starfield to the first half of 2023. So, what is that? Fiscal is March, into March. So anywhere from they could put it out in March all the way up to May, and they'd be sticking to their word. The teams at Arcane, who make Redfall, and Bethesda Game Studios, who make Starfield, have incredible ambitions for their games, and we want to ensure that you receive the best, most polished versions of them. We want to thank everyone for their excitement for Redfall and Starfield. The energy is a huge part of what inspires all of us every day and drives our own excitement for what we are creating. We can't wait to share our first deep dive into the gameplay for Redfall and Starfield soon. Thank you for your support. I'll tell you what Phil Spencer said in a second. What's really interesting, though, about all these delays, and again, I fully predict you'll see a delay on Ragnarok as well. What's really interesting is that in the past, any of these third-party companies but certainly hardware companies could kind of shoulder a couple of delays like this because games didn't take as long, they weren't as expensive, something was coming out. It's like, yeah, we're not going to get you Redfall. Don't worry, though, Indiana Jones is all ready to go. You know, we're not going to get you, you know, Jak and Daxter 3, but don't worry, Ratchet and Clank is still ready to go. You'll get that in September. Now, because of just the realities of AAA development, you know, you slip and there's a massive fucking hole. And that's what we're seeing here. I mean, this is, I know it's Bethesda, and I know that these seeds were probably planted well before maybe even Microsoft acquired them, but it still falls in the lap of Phil Spencer and his teams that seem to be, at this point, one can only say, are being paid insane amounts of money by someone to take a fall and intentionally fuck up, because you'd think at some point you're going to get lucky. And even if you're a terrible manager, which they seem to be, something would go right. Right? I mean, you know, and again, I love my Xbox. I love Gamepass, but this has been ridiculous. The fact that I can dredge up a 2-year-old video I made that got Phil Spencer to ban me, basically looking in the camera and calling him a terrible manager because he launched hardware without a piece of software, which was Xbox. And that you can apply that to that story, to the collective story, to the State of Decay story, to, there was one more in there, the 343 story. And, you know, fuck it, now we can apply it to this. Even though those seeds, I'm sure, were planted. Okay? This is a problem. Especially given that when you slip, it comes at a cost, okay? A bigger cost than ever. Here's what Phil Spencer tweets out. These decisions are hard on teams making the games and our fans. While I fully support giving teams the time to realize these great games when they are ready, we hear the feedback. Delivering quality and consistency is expected. We will continue to work to better meet these expectations. You suck, Phil Spencer. You are like the guy who is like, okay, you are me when I was 28, okay? I knew I could design. I knew I could have commercial ideas, at least at that time. My brain was directly plugged into the zeitgeist. It took me all of 7, 8, 9 months to realize I could not produce a game at all, let alone a game that I was also directing. It was a game called Dart Guns. We wasted $2 million of Sony's money. It never shipped. It allowed me to meet some brilliant people that went on to make God of War possible, like Mark Anderson and Shannon Studstill. But more importantly to me, it allowed me to realize there are things we're good at, even great at, and things we're not. Go get some therapy, Phil Spencer. You're not good at this part. You're just not. You don't get to be that guy. That's the only thing I can think of. And I don't mean to say this like I'm being jokey, but short of someone having some pictures, like a dossier like Trump, they said they had on Trump where, he went to Russian prostitutes and paid them to pee all over him. I mean, maybe that's what, I'm not even joking, because short of that, the only explanation for this is ego. Dude, this is not a one-off. This is so chronic that the fact that you are so far beyond the part where you tweet, "We'll try to do better," We hear your feedback. We understand quality and consistency is expected. You think in your position, running one of the biggest video game companies on the planet, you think it's nice you finally come around in 2022 to the fact that, you know, your customers expect, oh my God, what do you call those? Games. They expect games. Do not fire Phil Spencer. Phil Spencer is a visionary. I love his vision for Gamepass. And if somebody can get the man out of his own goddamn way, he could be tip of the sword of leading an absolute wonderful, for gamers and the art form, disruptive movement. But if he can't fucking get out of his own way and hire someone that knows how to fucking manage development, the legacy of Game Pass will be one where, oh, I guess it never worked. It's like, you're this fucking close, Phil Spencer. Your plan is sound. Your infrastructure when it comes to these studios is sound. It's great. You can't manage. You just can't do it. You know what? I never had a dream of playing in the NFL. When I got older, I started really getting into college football. And suddenly in my brain, I'm like, God, that would have been cool to play football in high school. I would have gotten my ass handed to me in the first 5 minutes. You know it and I know it. This is that, Phil Spencer. Come on, man. Bring somebody on. But this is what's going on in the world. And we're going to talk more about this. I want to bring in Professor Goo in just a second, see what he has to say about this. Let me get some of these chats real quick. One moment. Saran Grant, super chatted. Thank you, buddy. He says, we all lost 2 years due to COVID. Studios have too. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Other teams with less resources have been able to ship their games in plenty of time. And again, man, if this was one thing, you would be right. You would be right. But you know what? Horizon could ship their fucking game. Ratchet could ship their fucking game. Gran Turismo could. A bunch of PC games can. Assassin's Creed ships one every year. MLB does. EA's bullshit does. They're whatever. FIFA, you know, it's the football thing. I like Ted Lasso. You know, yes, you're right. COVID has made things harder. But has COVID made things triply hard at Microsoft? Come on now. Come on now. What are you talking about? That's just excuses, man. That's just bullshit excuses. Professor Goo, it's Jaffe. What's up, man?
Hey, Jaffe, how you doing?
I'm good. What do you think about this horseshit? I'm sorry, but I love my Xbox. I love Game Pass. But this is enough. I mean, enough is enough. What do you think? What's happening?
I'm not gonna lie. I just came in right now. So I missed it, but I was hearing a little bit. I'm assuming you're talking about like Xbox being unable to release games on time or update them at some level or something like that.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean it's Microsoft. You know, they should have enough money. They should have enough manpower. They should have enough of that. Now, do I feel for developer John Jones who has to work 60 hours? Yeah, I feel bad for them. Who has to work 60 hours in 5 days, 6 days? Of course, I feel bad for them. But in a head level, I don't understand why they're trying to push this idea of like, oh, you know, it's really tough. COVID has really hurt us and stuff like that. Yes, I get that. COVID has really hurt you, but that's on it for the developers, for them specifically. Yes, I do feel bad for them. But for the people up top, you can't push that idea of like, oh, COVID is really, you know, it's really made it a struggle and it's not a struggle. You're just incompetent.
I mean, there is a point where you know you have sympathy, and then you go, okay, that's. I think we all agree. Yeah, COVID's making it hard, but you know what? Bungie literally has become a primary work-at-home company, not just for COVID, but forever. A lot of companies have said, oh, we figured this out. This actually helps us be more productive. This actually allows us to hire people that don't have to live within, 60 miles of the office, and makes us better. The idea that you're going to use COVID as an excuse 2 years after the fact when everybody else has gotten their shit together, I think at this point, you really have to be demanding I mean, they don't owe me an explanation. All they owe me is software that works and hardware that works. And if they don't deliver, I can take my business elsewhere. But as a fan of the industry and someone who's worked in the industry, and as an Xbox fan,
Hello?
There is a point where I think these guys need to just sort of, you know, go bring some help. Bring some fucking help. You know what I'm saying? All right, I think we lost them, but there you got the gist. You got the gist. Eric says, don't feel bad for people working overtime. We all have to, and a lot of us, the overtime helps a lot. Oh, exactly. I get it. Yes, nobody likes crunch the industry. Who cares? Who cares? You know who doesn't mind it? The fans don't really mind it. It's not that I'm like, I wanted Starfield. I don't care. Delay it. I love the idea of Starfield. If you need another year, take another year. But could you put something on the table? I just gave you guys $500 for your fucking box. Could you put something out? It doesn't have to be that. You know, let Todd Howard have a get out of jail free card. The man's brought a lot of great stuff to the world. Bethesda's brought a lot of great stuff. Okay, but Redfall and six months to get 2 maps from Halo? Really? When does it end? It ends when somebody either goes into Phil Spencer's office and says, enough, you're not getting fired, but we're getting you some help. There's a great story or a great scenario. It's Sony Pictures, back before everything became Marvel and you had to have superheroes or you're fucked. Sony had like a 10-year run, Sony Pictures, where they were putting out Oscar winners and movies people adored and made a lot of money, and it was because they split the responsibilities. They knew crazy as fuck Amy Pascal, who's now one of the Spider-Man movies as producer, was great with the talent, great with creativity, but the woman couldn't manage. She couldn't do business. They brought in a guy named Michael, I think his name was Linden or Leiden. They had equal power. They were partners. One person did the right brain, one person did the left brain. Happily ever after until Kevin Feige showed up and shat all over their bed like Amber Heard. Okay, somebody sit Phil Spencer down and go, hey, here is your yin to your yang, pal, because you ain't pulling it off. You are not pulling it off. Kevin says, if the E3 show is Phil, Matt Booty, and Sarah Bond going, we love games, I'm going to kill myself. Paul Rodriguez says, speaking of Matt Booty, why is Matt Booty not getting any criticism? Because he works for Phil Spencer. He works for Phil Spencer. Let's put it this way. If Phil Spencer cannot recognize the problem, and the problem is Matt Booty, then the problem is Phil Spencer. I mean, the buck stops with him. 2 exclusives, says Mr. Thirsty, in 3.5 years, not good enough. Indies on Game Pass, which costs 10, and Game Pass costs $200 a year. Well, again, look, I have great affection for Game Pass. I love the indies. I love the AA's. I love the frequency of drops. They are doing so much right. That's why this is so frustrating. It's not like this is in television and you're like, whatever. I mean, I like Tommy personally very much, and I like some of his vision for in television, but it's not like he's promising this amazing promised land of what Game Pass could be with all these investments in studios. But when you're probably this is really, come on, man. Come on, man. Eddie T says they launched with no games and 2 years later, still nothing. One is their signature franchise, which has anemic content. Not only anemic content, but as Eddie points out, content that doesn't even work. I don't know, Eddie, if they fixed their guns jamming issue, but apparently that guns in Halo for over a week haven't been able to fire consistently. Anyway. What else is there to say? There's a lot more to talk about today, but what else is there to say on that story? Here, what I'll say is this: these didn't get a lot of play when the news came out, but there were a couple of tweets recently, and I want to say maybe it was my semi-nemesis Jeff Grubb. My key nemesis will always be little Jason Schreier. But Jeff Grubb's kind of up there because he misjudged me without even reaching out to me. But regardless, it may have been from him. And there was a report that a lot of people were running around Activision all excited because they had made some deal with a third party or something. So, look, you know, use your superpower. Your superpower right now, Phil Spencer, is money. That's all you got right now. Okay? So, unless you've got some real surprises. I mean, there's a rumor that they're going to show Indiana Jones. I saw a rumor yesterday they're going to show Mandalorian. I guess they're making a Mandalorian game. That's going to show. Maybe it will, but it's not going to be available for Christmas, either one of them. So, hopefully they're going to open up their checkbook and go to, even though I'm not a big Assassin's Creed fan, go to the new Assassin's Creed and say it's a 2-year exclusive. They probably can't go to Call of Duty now because the acquisition in process. But, you know, go to someone with a lot of money and say, gimme for 2 years. That's your only play. I mean, can you imagine? Can you imagine standing on that stage in a month and having nothing for Christmas? Except, as much as I love, you know, I'm playing Rogue Legacy 2 right now, which is an indie game. I love indie games as much as I love big games. I just adore video games in general. I don't understand this. They have to be AAA. I love them all. But can you imagine standing on that fucking stage and having nothing exciting to say is coming? And forget Christmas. We're just going into the summer. The fact that Xbox fans are salivating over something exciting at Christmas time is pathetic. This is why consoles are dead. And they should be dead. They will die. I'm sorry if you don't like it, but they will die. The best thing that Xbox can do is announce their Xbox Puck Stick Gamepass for TVs and Samsung's built-in, because ultimately that's where the industry's going anyway. But, you know, it's not going to get there for a while. So, Bayo Bio says there was so much hype about acquisitions that I am confused. What are you confused by? You know, hey, we went out and bought the fastest sports car in the world. That's exciting. I don't know how to drive it. That's not exciting. That's what we're talking about. That's what we're talking about. So what was all the studios that Microsoft already had doing before their acquisitions? Why didn't they have any games to release even at launch? Let me make sure I understand this question. I don't think I do. Asio says, Jaffe, what were all the studios that Microsoft already had before their new acquisitions doing? You got to be more specific. I don't know what you're talking about. Are you talking about Bethesda? Are you talking about when they acquired Double Fine? What do you mean? But certainly day one launch, how the fuck you can launch hardware day one with no software? I don't know. I don't fucking know. Why didn't Phil Spencer go out and hire Shannon Studstill, says Deepones? I don't know. There are about 4 or 5 or 6 people I can think of that could get in there and make shit happen. It ain't these motherfuckers they got. I don't know who runs 343. They need to be gone. I don't know who runs any of these fucking places that can't ship a fucking game. I mean, this is what it's like. I've talked about this before. And it does piss me off. Because, you know what? It pisses me off because I'm so excited about the vision that Phil paints. Reminds me when I was a kid. Dad's like, we're going to New York. I'd never been to New York. I was so excited. And then like 2 days before, he's like, oh, I'm real sorry, kids. I can't afford to take you to New York. Fuck. Right? That's what this is like. I'm excited. We're getting Game Pass. It sounds amazing. I can't really do it. Right? I know a lot of people today, when they do these shows and talk about this, will be doing shtick. They'll be doing console war fanboys, whatever. That's not. If you detect some frustration or anger or annoyance, that is not that. I'm not being a character. I'm not like, all right, let's get clicks. Jaffe's angry. Because I've been here before. I was here when we were Sony first party and we were canceling titles left and right. And thank God titles were faster to make. And we could write a check to Naughty Dog or Universal at the time to get Crash Bandicoot as an exclusive to make up for the fact that 3 titles internally were canceled in the course of a month because none of us, including management, knew what the fuck we were doing. But eventually we learned. But we were lucky that we got to learn while still ruling the roost. These guys are literally, you know, putting on the pads and the helmets and the jerseys to go play hockey, professional hockey, but they're playing like a fucking, you know, high school team. It's like delivering quality and consistency is expected, he says. Yes, of course. The fact that that even comes out of your fucking tweet is embarrassing for you. I'm bringing in Papa Cheeks, if I can. Papa Cheeks is Jaffe. What's up?
Hey, what's going on, man?
Doing a stream. What are you doing?
Just hanging out watching you on the stream.
What are you wearing? I don't really care. All right, go.
A pair of joggers.
Nice.
It's hot out.
I don't even know what that is, but keep going. What's a jogger? Now I want to know.
No, joggers. You don't know what joggers are? They've been around since like the 40s.
Well, maybe they had a different name.
They're kind of like a khaki pants. They have they're like tapered at the bottom.
Staggering how I don't care and I'm asking questions. Let's get to the news. What do you want to talk about, my good friend? Go.
Kind of I want to answer the other question that was up there. Someone was asking you what Microsoft's other studios pre-acquisitions were doing. I think they meant like their smaller. They have other studios they had prior to all those acquisitions in 2018. Prior to like the initiative, prior to all that stuff.
Okay.
I think that's what the person was asking. It was like, where are all those projects that probably were like, you know, cooking whatever pre those acquisitions? Because I'll tell you, because that's also Undead Labs. Undead Labs, even though that was announced in 2018 that they were being fully purchased by Microsoft, they were exclusively working on State of Decay for Microsoft. Like they basically were in essence a Microsoft studio at the time.
Correct.
So I think the thing was,
and that studio came out recently and talked about poor management and how Microsoft was too hands off and let them just drift for several years.
I gotta ask you this: how much of Phil Spencer's? This is actually a question. I don't know if you have the knowledge on it. I know a little bit. How much of Phil Spencer's like older career do you know about? Like when he was basically when he got started, like and he was like 20, he was doing like they were like he was doing porting and stuff like that, like software porting.
Yeah, I know very little about the guy until he came on board as the head of Xbox. I don't follow.
Well,
him.
what I don't understand is he was in games like on the PC side in terms of like they were porting stuff for like Microsoft PC shit like back in like late 90s, and then was promoted to their publishing group for Microsoft software, which technically was PC games, and then that became Microsoft Studios.
Okay.
And
whatever. What was the gist though? What's the gist of your point?
The gist is like this guy. What I don't understand is how is there not like someone else that was also overseeing all this, like before, you know, the Don Matrick that was looking at the job he was doing, which was overseeing publishing and just overall the studios.
The only thing that I can think of that could be realistic is the fact that they just don't know any better. They don't have the experience. They're getting on-the-job training, but they're doing it in a very public, very competitive venue. And now that the customer knows better and has options, remember back when PlayStation was ruling the roost in PS1 and we were canceling titles left and right, it isn't like you could run to Xbox. It isn't, you could run to Nintendo, but it wasn't seen as the cool brand. Marketing really saved our ass for a while there. So I think what has to be happening is when you say who was there before, they probably just don't know what the fuck they're doing. I mean, that is not fanboy. That is not me being cruel. That is me going,
no.
The proof is in the pudding. The writing is on the wall. They don't know what they're doing.
I've had this outlook for a long time. I've been studying this industry not as long as you have, but I mean, I have, you know, an OG Xbox, old school PC, Mac, all that shit. And I think the what it comes down to, honestly, is the culture in the brand comes from enterprise. like I think you watched all those recent documentaries they put on YouTube, like the history of like Xbox. They were really well done, and they go through and they talk about like the early days that the DirectX team with like Seamus Blackley and like all those guys.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I'm getting bored of this conversation. I get your point. That's not your fault. It's my fault. I have ADD. Let me play you a little sound of a girl having an orgasm.
Nice.
Okay, thanks for calling. I'm bored now, but that's not your fault. I'll talk to you later.
All right, bye.
All right, he's getting into the weeds too much. I don't care. I don't like what Phil Spencer's doing. That's all that matters. Let me bring in one more call, and then I'll get back to the news. Zim made 04. I don't fucking know. Zim, are you there? It's Jaffe.
Yeah, I'm here, man.
What's going on?
So listen.
Yeah.
Redfall and Starfield are two Bethesda games, and we know from the acquisition that Bethesda remain with control over their own publishing arm.
Mm-hmm.
So, can we put this squarely on Microsoft's shoulders?
Yes.
Or is it a combination of Bethesda and their culture? That's the reason for these delays.
It doesn't matter is the answer. The fact of the matter is yes, of course, like I said, the seeds could very well have been planted that grew into the delays of these games before Phil Spencer even considered going, hey, we can buy Bethesda. Absolutely. Yeah. But they're your responsibility now, and they are your big title for the holiday season. And if you, Phil Spencer, either don't have the experience yourself or you don't have, more importantly, people working for you with the experience to recognize that this plane does not have enough runway to get in the sky, and we're not going to make that date, then ultimately the problem sits with Microsoft and Phil Spencer. And the only thing he can do at this point to, nothing's going to happen because, maybe they're going to have a worse Christmas than they planned on it, because if this hits their reputation beyond core people who talk on streams like this, maybe people will go, Game Pass sounds great, but they don't have any games, right? But assuming that happens, they're fucked, at least for this Christmas. But ultimately, the other option is to stand on stage and say, yeah, I know you're disappointed, but look at these 3 titles we just signed that we pulled away from PlayStation, that we pulled away from Nintendo. You can only play them on Game Pass, and they are big. It's the new Assassin's Creed, it's the new Call of Duty, and it's this new game coming out from that is the only saving grace at this point. Because anything else is just anything else is him just promising horse shit. How many,
let's say his evaluation comes up, Phil Spencer. Yeah. And he's sitting in front of Satya Nadella, and Nadella brings this up like, hey, yo, Phil, we don't have any games. The only game we had come out this year was a PlayStation exclusive.
Right, that's a good point.
I'm thinking about letting you go. Could Phil Spencer push back and say, hey, yo, this, we bought this publisher, and they've been working on this game. I did what I could to promote it. I did what I could.
I can't tell. I can't
deliver.
Sure, I can't tell you there's a million ways that conversation could go. I know of a situation within Sony where a very expensive game was canceled, and when the producer was called on the carpet for it, they said to their boss, but I've been telling you for a year this isn't working, we should cancel it, and you're the one who kept saying let's give them more chances, and now you're blaming me because I should have been able to convince you that you were wrong and you're my boss. I don't fucking know how that meeting would go, but what I will say is I think if you fire Phil Spencer, it's the stupidest decision ever, because a good manager can recognize genius and can recognize innovation and balls, and that man has all of those things when it comes to what he's trying to do. But they can also recognize your weaknesses and say, you know what, you're a great neurosurgeon, but you're not doing the heart transplant. I know you're real smart, I know you want to do it, but I'm the head of the hospital, you ain't doing the heart transplant. That's what needs to be happening right now. Do not fire Phil Spencer. Get the man some fucking help, or get him a partner who can actually, out yin his yang. All right, man. Thank you for the call. I appreciate it, buddy.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, I want to talk. Let me check the chat for a second. Have you checked the children? That scared the shit out of me when I was a kid. When a stranger calls. Do you know this fucking thing? You know this fucking thing? They did a remake, fuck that. The original in the late 70s, a babysitter. She's watching these kids, and she's whatever babysitters do when their kids are asleep. And she keeps getting these crank calls. The guy on the line says, "Have you checked the children?" And she's just like, dude, fuck off. Fuck off. She thinks it's her boyfriend. Fuck off, man. And finally it starts getting really fucking scary and shit, man. And so she calls the cops, and they say, all right, we'll take care of it. Don't worry, you're fine. They call her back, and she says, hello? And the cops say, we've traced the call. It's coming from inside the house. The guy was in a different phone line upstairs in the kid's bedroom the whole time, and he fucking killed those kids. Love that fucking movie. Terrifying. Horrible. You think you can outgrow video games? That's the question on the table. I see this happening. I see this. Professor Goo, write to me on the chat. Tell me what you got. You want to show me. Yeah, we should call Phil Spencer and be like, "Have you checked Bethesda? Have you checked any of your teams at all, or are you just letting them do what the fuck they want?" I'm not going to stop the show. You got to give me. He says it's 2 video games. Be specific. What do you want to talk about? I would say once every 6 weeks. Once every 6 weeks. There's a post on NeoGAF. And it's like, hey, NeoGAF, and this happens everywhere. Hey, NeoGAF, I'm getting bored of games. I used to love games. This is a guy named Don Jorginho. TLDR, he says, I'm not enjoying new video game releases as much anymore. Even games I'm eagerly hyped for, and I'm spending less and less time gaming even when I have free time. Am I falling out of love with gaming, or is this just a slow start to the generation? And then he goes into the details, but that's the gist of it. And this is not an isolated complaint or question or query. I see it all the time on these forums. And I think, you know, there's a really important answer to this question. Because it's not, a lot of the answers predictably are like, you know, you get kids, you get bored, try playing some retro games, try taking a break, it'll come back. It's not the point. The point is you should never even have to ask the question, right? Do you get bored of movies? Do you get bored of TV shows? There may be shows you get bored of watching. You may not be in the mood to watch a movie one weekend. But games is, as far as I can tell, one of the only entertainment mediums that consistently has this query. And I think I know what it is. It's nothing to do with taking a break or retro or any of that. Okay? It has everything to do... It has everything to do, and I'm going to show this on your screen, with this. This is, you may have seen this, the Unreal Engine 5 Matrix demo dropped a couple months ago. People have put Superman in it. They've put Spider-Man in it, and now, as you can see here, somebody did Batman, okay? Everybody's going on about the Unreal Engine. Oh my fucking, you saw the thing at the subway that they did. It looks so amazing. It looks like real life, blah, blah, blah. Great. Guess what? Watch what Batman does. This is the problem with the industry, and with the art form, more importantly, is it looks great. Look at the cars. When he bumps up against the cars, all the cars have individual shock absorbers on every wheel, so they jostle around. And look at the cape. It looks like real leather. Look at the ray tracing. Fuck off, because what he's doing is the same shit you've been doing since you played Nightmare Creatures on the PS1, which I think was one of the first 3D kind of fighters or whatever. Okay, so. The issue is not the medium. The issue is not the games. The issue is that you grow out I think it's fair to say it's not that you grow up and out of the mainstream game world, but I think it's very fair to say you grow out of it. It's got nothing to do with age. It's got everything to do with your brain going, I've seen this a million times. And even if you can't recognize the similarities upon immediate viewing, it's the same thing. Your brain is going, okay, after the visuals wear off, which they do, then you're just left with the same thing over and over and over. And this is why I say, here's another example. Look at your screen here. Today, EA released this. This is a Dead Space remake. Well, I played the Dead Space Remake 2, or Dead Space 2, not remake, but the version on Steam, which maybe it's HD, I don't know. But it looked pretty much like the top image here. And it was one of my favorite game experiences I've ever had. I played a game the other night, which I loved. I finished, called Nightmare of Decay, which looks like a PS1 game. One of the best games I've played this year, okay? But look at this. I'm not saying they're not promising new gameplay. Today's announcement from EA was all about the visuals. But this is what people talk about, the visual upgrades. The money that gets spent, a lot of it goes into visual and animation. This is what we are conditioned to love and care about if all you do is play and consume AAA games. So if you're like, yes, but Jaffe, that's all I like, that's fine. But then be prepared in about 5 years to be the guy posting on NeoGAF that, hey, I'm getting kind of bored of games. What's going on? And it's like, well, because you're not playing anything interesting anymore. It would be like simply going to the same movie with new actors and set dressing, but watching the same fucking movie over and over and over and over in terms of the beats and the story and the surprise twist and all that. Like the first time you hear that Bruce Willis sees dead people and he's a ghost, well, that blows your mind. You hear it 10 times, you're like, all right, why am I getting bored of this? Gee, I don't know, because you've had it over and over. But, you know, look, if the industry spent, you know what I would like to do? I don't really want to do this, but I wish somebody would do this. I wish somebody would start a company for design only. And they're like, look, we don't care about the tech. We don't even want to ship games. We're gonna be a company that sells prototypes that we think are fun as fuck to other companies to turn into real games. Because none of these companies spend the amount of money and resources and time on pushing design forward. Okay? They just don't. They just don't, because it's hard to articulate, it's hard to understand, it's hard to identify who's really good at it versus who's just blowing bullshit. But ultimately, you know, look, there's no doubt Horizon Zero Dawn looks 1,000 times better, in my opinion, than Elden Ring. But from what I've played so far, Elden Ring is one of the best games ever made. It doesn't matter about the visuals for the art form. But, you know, that's my answer, though. So can you grow out of video games? No. Can you grow up and out of the same shit, whether it's a book or a game or whatever? Yeah, and you see it all the time. You see it all the fucking time. Speaking of Dead Space, though, they did announce that the remake will launch January 27th, 2023. I don't know about that. But I hope so. I'm excited for it. I'm not near as excited for it as Callisto Protocol. But I am excited because I want to see what they've added to it. Kevin says there seems to be, not only in video games, but this occurs in music, films, there needs to be some significant disruption. No, I don't agree with you. Here's what I'll tell you. There is disruption in those industries all the time. The difference is that in those industries, alt bands or independent film or a movie that releases on Amazon instead of the theaters first, they're not poo-pooed and looked at as lesser. In fact, the aficionados of those mediums look at those and say that's where the real juice is. But in video games, the most vocal folks are the ones that say, oh, indie games, oh, gross. They're janky. They're pixely. I don't want those. I want to show off my big screen, blah, blah, blah. And again, they have a right. They're customers. Their money spends as well as anybody else's. But I think what's ultimately happened, though, is, you know, the medium itself has gotten stunted because of its obsession with photoreal graphics, and the fact that the fans have eaten that up. They don't recognize what they're giving up. They just don't, because you can't. How do you pitch why Nightmare of Decay is such a good fucking game? It looks like a PS1 game. I'm trying to do a review for my channel. I can't even articulate what I like about it so much. And I've been in design for 20 years. So it's a hard sell. It's a hard fucking sell. All right, I'm going to regret that. Well, okay, let me, okay, hang on. We got some Sony news coming up. Let me make these calls pretty quick, though, because we've already talked to Professor Goo. Professor Goo, what is it, man? What's going on?
Just could you check the links and pics?
No,
Jeff
I'm
shared?
doing a show. What? Just use your words. What do you want to talk about?
So I came across a lollipop chainsaw.
Yes.
And a long box of twisted metal.
Okay.
And I was wondering, like, do you have either of those? And if you didn't, would you be okay if I shipped it out to you?
Well, I would appreciate that, but I can't play either one of those. Like, the long box of Twisted Metal, don't you fucking give that to me. One of those just sold for over 150K. So you keep that for yourself. But Lollipop, I would love to borrow or find a way to buy it, but I can't play it on anything. I don't own, what is it, a PS2 game?
It's a PS3 game.
Yeah, I don't even have that anymore. But I do appreciate that, though. Thank you, Professor.
Okay.
All right, man.
Thank you.
Call back later. Bye.
All right.
All right, here we go. Hold on to your butts. It's PTurtle coming in from the rain. What's up, man?
What's going on, Jeffy?
Doing a show. What's up with you?
I hear that. I wanted to talk to you because of the, you heard the whole issue with Xbox and the DRM and all that?
Well, I mean, I heard that that was potentially to blame for one of the reasons a number of people couldn't get on their games this weekend.
Right. Right, and then you add the whole fact that you're excited. You say that you're like really excited about Phil Spencer's vision for Xbox, which really I think his vision is what? Like very accessible digital live streaming games, right?
Well, the vision I'm excited about is a subscription service that I think will allow more people to get into games, and more importantly, more unique games to be funded and created. I think because of that, the art form will grow, just like we're seeing things happen in television right now because of sub-services like HBO and Netflix.
But you don't think it doesn't worry you that when you go all digital or you do subscription services like and just live streaming,
yeah, that
what you do now is you're giving a lot of the power you have as a gamer and a consumer to these mega corporations?
Well, you're doing that. I mean, that's living in a capitalist society. Your car, if you own a car, you're living with the fact that they have planned obsolescence of parts in that car that don't need to go bad, but they will go bad, which means you're going to be paying 30% more than what you paid for the car over the lifetime of that car. That's the deal you enter into. You don't
have to enter this deal.
Huh?
You don't have to enter. See, the difference is what you're saying is that you don't have to. You're excited to enter this deal. That I don't understand.
Well, I've already explained it, because every business model of anything drives the creativity. Whether the box of cereal that you may be nostalgic for, that you had as a kid, exists primarily because the size of the box was focus tested, or the grocery store people said, we need boxes to be of a certain size in the cereal aisle so we can sell more cereal. And it was focus tested with audiences to determine what kids liked more to put on the box, right? Everything that you love that is creative, that is not made by a one-man band or just made out of the goodness of someone's heart, is done with the patronage of a business that is trying to make money. And so I look at Game Pass and I see the things that you see and I go, yeah, that's a pain. But what I get in return is I get things like what Tango Gameworks, Mikami said recently, which is with Game Pass, we don't have to worry about every game being a $60 product that is padded and long. We can make some really weird, creepy, interesting short games that really only need to be 5 hours. So that's why I'm excited.
I understand that, but I think on the flip side, you're not looking at the bigger picture here. You yourself have been a victim of some kind of ridiculous censorship when it came to Sony. I think when you get into
how have I been a victim of censorship?
See, this is the problem. You're not for the people. You should know by now.
Give me an example. You're saying there's an example. What is it?
Okay, didn't they ban you on PlayStation for saying that character in Ratchet and Clank was lesbian? Didn't they like ban you for a week?
Well, they banned me, and then I tweeted, and they wrote back and said, "Oh yeah, we're idiots. We messed up. We're sorry," and they unbanned me. But they did. They did for a couple of days. Yeah.
And you're a guy who is a legend within that company. A former legend, but a legend, right?
Okay.
A somewhat legend.
Whatever. It doesn't matter. Whatever.
Nevertheless, they banned you. Where did you make the remark about that character being lesbian?
I think what I did is I was playing it, and then I used the PlayStation 5 share feature to directly send it to my Twitter account. And I think what that does is if you're playing on PS5, there's like a roulette of screenshots people have saved that you can see, and maybe mine went up there. I don't fucking know. Okay.
So you got banned for something that was ridiculous, and I don't think they messed up. I think they did it on purpose, and then they didn't want the blowback.
Whatever, fine, okay.
I want to make this point here.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the point.
The point being is that they banned you for posting something on Twitter about your assumption about a character.
Well, no. My understanding is they banned me because I did it through their service, which ended up putting it on their actual branded PlayStation roulette wheel on the PS5. But regardless, though, they didn't like what I posted, and within their right of as a private company that I had signed their terms of service for, they said, because of that, here's a ban.
So that doesn't scare you? That doesn't worry you for the future of live streaming games? And we know the way that this is going. It's to get rid of physical media. And it's to go, and when you do that, you know you're giving these corporations absolute power, and then it becomes about everything you say. They can dictate everything, and we know that they collude with other companies. We're gonna get to a point where you're
living in a fairy tale conspiracy land. The fact of the matter is, the only thing these companies care about is making money and being able to stay in business to make more money. And so they can provide you with a rotten experience that you're prophesizing will come, and that's fine. They're allowed to do that, and a customer is allowed to walk away. And now if you're saying that the customer is too stupid to walk away from a bad product, well, then the issue isn't with Phil Spencer or Jim Ryan. It's with a bunch of fucking moronic customers who don't know any better.
I'm saying you're the moronic customer.
I'm happy. I'm enjoying gaming. I'm enjoying gaming now than ever.
Moronic. That's what makes you stupid. Listen, if they banned you from this, not banned, they suspended your account or whatever, and now you're locked down. You can't play a game because you made an assumption that a character was lesbian.
Which by the way, I was
going to get to it.
The writer came out and said,
"It turns out you were right."
I was. Yep.
You don't think that's scary? And then
scary about what? It's not the government. It's a fucking company that makes video games. I'll go to another one.
And then add the fact that Phil Spencer already said, right? He already said that he wants to start banning people. If you do something on one platform, well, you should get banned off of everything.
Yeah.
You can't see where this is going.
I don't. Hang on. I got to get this call. Don't go anywhere.
God damn it.
What's that? My kid. So I guess my point is, PTurtle, is none of it really bothers me because I have
you're okay. Hold on. You're okay with purchasing all these things and spending money on subscription services, and then when you give your opinion on something that you happen to actually be right about, they ban you and you can't play games, and you say, well, give me more of that slop. That is awesome.
No, because that's not what. Because you're painting it as one way, but that's not really what occurred.
You.
Sorry.
That's literally what happened to you.
It's not. You don't think you know how the word literally works. Literally, what happened to me was I made a statement. They didn't ban me from playing games. They said your PSN account is shut down for a few days. I wrote them, or I didn't even write them. I'm like, fuck you, I'll go play Xbox. But just so you know, here's what happened. They were like, oh shit, we were wrong. We're sorry. But if the company became a company, like Miguel says, you sub to a service and you unsub when it no longer interests you. You have all of the power. You guys act, a lot of you guys act like you're some captive audience. It's like if PlayStation becomes the kind of place to play where they do things that I find offensive, I'll stop giving them my money and I'll move on to something else.
But why is this hard? With things like YouTube, as we see with things like Twitter, these corporations can build things that are so big that if you're not a part of it, you're pretty much on the outskirts of society.
Really? If you're not a part of Twitter, you're on the outskirts of society? Really?
I mean, I think as a celebrity, as a politician, it's a very good way to engage with the public, and if they and it can absolutely.
Okay. I gotta let you go, PTurtle. We're not gonna have.
God damn you! You know I'm schooling you.
You're not schooling me. You just don't listen, and I don't agree. Call back anytime, buddy. I'll see you soon. Bye, PTurtle. Okay. Let me see who that was. Lil Pippy Gaming. Thank you, buddy, for the super chat. He says Jaffe got the big PP. You goddamn right I do. I don't know if it's big, but the girl told me it was surprisingly big. So I don't know if that means that for me, like looking at me like I'm surprised because I expected it to be, you know, an acorn penis, or was it more, it would be big for anyone. I never asked her that. I should have asked her. I still know her. I should ask her. Anyway, let's talk about Sony a little bit. First, let's talk to Family Guy Dog. He says, Jaffe, thank you for being a sub member for 3 months. Diet Soda Soldiers, Family Guy Dog, I appreciate that. He says, I'd love to live in the society that PTurtle is a celebrity. Well, go make him a celebrity. Look, you guys agree with him. What he's saying is stupid, though. I'm sorry. What he's saying is dumb. If you actually are in the chat and you're siding with him, you're not thinking, okay? It's not that I'm not a moron. I understand the emotional strings he's pulling. Nobody likes to be told what to do. Nobody likes to be banned. Nobody likes to be, told that their behavior isn't acceptable. I get that. But in this case, PTurtle inadvertently or unknowingly is allowing these companies to have so much power over him. It's like, I have seen it firsthand, and I've seen it anecdotally for 50 years or however, 45 years, conscious, whatever. They go where the money is. They have no choice. They're sharks. If they stop going where the money is, they die, unless they're a nonprofit. Okay? And so ultimately, if enough people say, you know what, Sony, your take on censorship is unacceptable, they'll change or they'll die, because another company will rise up and go, there is a spot in the market that I can make some headway. It is like digging holes in the sand. And you'll have a hole for a little bit, but lo and behold, sooner than later, usually very sooner, the water will rush in and fill the hole. Someone will rush in to fill the space where they see a need in the market. That's just how it works. It's how it's always worked. It's why Sony got to be Sony. Because Sony rushed in and said, we don't have to put games on cartridges. We can market games to be cool. Nintendo's not doing that. Let's take what Sega kind of started and let's pump it up another level. That's what it is. And a lot of you guys who side with PTurtle on this are just kind of acting like slaves to these companies. So you stop playing PlayStation. Oh my God, I can't play. Fuck off. Really? Go play something else. Well, you know, somebody was saying in the chat, somebody was saying, oh, well, what about, you know, this DRM thing or the digital thing? See, that proves it. This weekend proves why digital's bad. Really? You ever have your power go off in your house because there's a rainstorm or a hurricane? You ever have your car break down because something gives out on your car? You ever run out of food in your house and have to go out and buy more? That proves it. That proves that if I go to the grocery store and buy bread and then I eat all the bread in the package, there's no more bread. See, they're out to get me. They're out to fuck me. Well, it's a business and you don't have to buy it. But nothing is... If you live in a part of the world where your internet is so spotty that 5 times a week it goes out, okay, you have a point. But your point there is with your internet company. Your point there is not with Microsoft or Sony. But the idea that, oh, my stars and garters, when's the last time Xbox went down like this? Right? I can't remember. Come on. Fupy says, yeah, just stop playing 10 out of 10 PS games and go play 7 out of 10 games everywhere else. Except now you play garbage game. Then suck it up. You have the power. Because ultimately, Fupy, what you're saying is your desire to play games that you consider great trumps your desire to be treated respectfully by the company that sells you those games. And there's nothing wrong with that, but you're making a choice. But shame on you for being so uneducated that you can't recognize that you're in the driver's seat. You either have the self-discipline to say, I'm not going to choose that because it's not respectful to me, or you don't. I love Chick-fil-A waffle fries. I grew up on them in Alabama. That's where the company started. I learned what an awful corporation they are. I don't eat them anymore. I drive by it 5 times a month. I'd love to stop in and get waffle fries, but I'm not going to do it because I know it goes against my moral code. You're upset because you don't have a moral code, right? You're upset because you're like, well, I'd like to have a moral code and it feels uncomfortable that I don't have a moral code. So I'm going to keep playing these goddamn games but still be upset. I mean, that's on you.
Hello?
Yes, PTurtle. What is it? I thought we were done.
I'm sorry. I didn't want to jump in. I'm not trying to make this about me, but I need to correct you. You're misunderstanding my point. I'm not saying that I'm going to kiss the butt cheeks of this corporation. You're doing that. I don't play on PlayStation anymore. But what I'm saying is, when things change, right, and you have one console generation that can go on for 8 to 10 years, and you've spent thousands of dollars, and then they can lock you out of all that money you spent. This is not about what I want to play. It's about what I've spent. This is what I spent my money on, and why something physical gives you a little bit more protection.
Why did you sign the terms of service that said they could do that?
What reads the terms of service? Are you kidding me? You sound like a real PR guy.
No, I do not. I'm not saying... No, I do not. I sound like somebody who understands the meal that is being served to me, and I choose to eat it, even though I know there's some parts of it that are bad for me. I don't read the terms of service either, but I know enough about the terms of service of these companies to know that they've got their butts covered. And they are out for themselves, and you have all the power, and that you can choose not to sign it and not to play. But
I agree.
But you don't do that. That's on you.
I do that. But what I'm saying is that you have a channel, right? You have a relatively decent notoriety within the gaming space.
Uh-huh.
For somebody like you who understands this and still promotes what they're doing is sick.
I'm not promoting what they're doing. I'm saying that
you're excited for Game Pass.
I am very excited for Game Pass.
And you're excited for Sony's new ridiculous...
No, I'm not until they offer something interesting. So far, they've said nothing interesting to me about that new service.
At the end of the day, there's no reason why they can't do that and still release physical media so that we can be protected a little bit, okay?
You know, there is a reason, though. There is a reason. Would you like to know the reason?
Yes, I will.
Because they are going to make so much more money if they control the entire thing from soup to nuts. They don't have to give physical copies to a middleman and pay GameSpot or Best Buy. They don't have to pay for packaging and shipping. They make more money, and guess what? Gamers have shown by a 70% amount that they're okay with it. 70% have said, we'll take that deal, Sony. We'll take that deal, Microsoft. All you're complaining about is you don't like it. I understand. I understand you don't like it.
It's not about I don't like it. It's you're part of that problem, and I've seen it already in other spaces.
I'm not part of the problem because I'm telling you how to actually fix the problem, but you won't do it. What you're saying is I want exactly what I want, and I don't want to give up anything. And the company is saying, fuck you. The customers have shown en masse that they're willing to bend over backwards for our product. So shame on you for complaining about it when you signed up for it. Be a fucking man and say, be a fucking man and say that you are not going to partake. No, thank you. I find it offensive. But instead,
I don't partake in that stuff. Do you hear me?
Oh, I hear you. I don't believe you. I've seen you on my friends list.
What, on your friends list of what?
I don't know, some fucking game we played or something. I don't fucking know.
I've never played a goddamn game with you in my life. That's a goddamn lie.
What's the last video game you played?
Castlevania, the anniversary collection.
Okay, so you only play old games that you own.
No, I play old games now because I refuse to get in on this.
Then you're right. Okay. That's what you should do.
You agree with me that what I'm doing is correct.
I agree with you that if you value having more control over the products that you pay for, whether it's through a subscription or whether it's buying the actual hardware, then you are making the right decision. What I am saying to you is I don't value what you value.
So you're saying, again, this goes back to the original point, that you're a part of the problem. There's nothing you're schooling me on here.
I don't agree that there's a problem.
What's the problem?
I don't agree that there's a problem.
You literally got banned for something.
I was fine with it. What do I care?
So you like to take it up the ass by corporations. You're proving my point.
Okay. PTurtle, I'm going to let you go. Okay. You sure did, buddy. I got schooled. I feel like I need some pencils and notebooks and a geography book. I got totally schooled.
I like you, Jaffe.
Could you please send me a graduation hat with the tassel? I'll wear it on the next stream because I have been
We can continue this one of these days when you're doing a high stream or something.
Okay.
But I'm telling you, you're not making sense on this. You're absolutely not.
Mm-hmm.
And listen, I don't want to take over the show. I'll leave.
Goodbye, PTurtle. I love you, buddy. Let's talk about Sony. Let's talk about Sony. Fuck you, Dave, you idiot. Okay. Sony CFO Hikori Totoki. Here's a great example, by the way, of what we were sort of just talking about. Hikori Totoki says the corp's belief that the quality of its first-party games would decline if they were added to PlayStation Plus on day one. The company's new PS Plus subscription service will begin rolling out this summer and include a library of hundreds of games. However, unlike Microsoft's Game Pass, this is from Video Games Chronicle, by the way, will not add first-party games on the day of their release. He said that if Sony were to follow Microsoft's Game Pass model, it would result in fewer resources allocated to first-party titles and thus a decline in quality. AAA titles on PS5, if we distribute them on the sub-service, we may need to shrink the investment needed for that. Oh, good. That will deteriorate the first... Listen to what he's saying. I don't give a fuck anymore. I don't care if you're some hardcore fucking AAA motherfucker and this is what... I don't care. You come to this show and you enjoy this show if you care about the medium of video games. Think about what this guy is saying. Think about what this guy is saying. Let's say we can take him at face value. Listen to this for a second. Yeah, Fupy don't even got it right. Fupy says, I agree with this. Master chefs don't want to cook for an all-you-can-eat buffet. This is where you don't get it. And this is where we part ways. When it comes to this discussion, we can still be pals. We can still debate. We can still discuss. But don't fucking come at me and tell me you love this medium. Listen to what he says. AAA titles on PS5, if we distribute them on the sub-service, we may shrink the investment needed. That will deteriorate the first-party title quality, and that is our concern. So we want to make sure we spend the appropriate dev cost to have solid products and titles to be introduced in the right manner. Fuck that. Because what he is saying is there is a direct link to the quality of our titles and the production value of our titles. He's basically telling you what Sean Layden said a while ago, which is their business model is not sustainable. It just isn't. Okay? And here's one of the reasons it isn't. I want you to follow through with me on this for a moment. Sean Layden said, I forget the number he came out with. But he said there was like historically, let's just say 250 million. It may have been a little more, a little less. 250 million gamers that are core gamers that play console games. He says that hasn't changed. That hasn't changed at all. From NES days, from PS1 days up until now. They shuffle around. New ones come in, a lot of them wash out, and the ones that stay or whatever, they move around. Sometimes they have an Xbox, sometimes they have a PlayStation, sometimes it's a Switch, but that audience is pretty stagnant, okay? Well, the audience in that realm isn't growing. The budgets are going up. Sony is the only company that is gone. Now they're trying to change it with service-based games. I don't love service-based games, but at least you recognize they've seen at least one of the canaries in the coal mine that's dead, and they're like, oh, maybe we should do something. But they have built their empire of games on production value. And I'm not saying you don't like that, but the reason they've built it on that is because they know they can sell it. But here's the problem. We talked about it earlier in the goddamn Cockadoodie show. We talked about it earlier. Let me find it. It's this guy who comes in and says, I think I'm outgrowing games. Yeah, because they're the fucking same. They just look better. And eventually you grow out of it. 98% of people go, you either start playing other kinds of games or you just stop because they're all the fucking same with just a different coat of paint. You see it here with Unreal 5 with Batman. There's nothing interesting about what they're showing you on the screen. Not a goddamn thing. Unless you're new to the industry playing games, this is like, yeah, I've done this a million times. Look at this. This is from EA. Come on now. It's the same goddamn thing. It's the same goddamn game. So the idea that you're going to build your foundation on the bones of a system that says our superpower is money, basically production value, you can't, that can't sustain, okay? And the fact that he basically admitted, I mean, what a ludicrous concept, right? That you're saying we can't be a video game company that is desirable, that is successful, unless we production value shit to the moon. I don't know. How about design? How about interesting ideas? How about building your games, you know, from the ground up where what the player does is the most important choice you make? Not, oh, we spent, you know, $15 million getting a procedural animation system. Who gives a shit? Not many people. Not enough people. So when a game from Sony comes out like Returnal, it's a breath of fresh air. You're like, holy shit. Now that's a good fucking game. Listen to this. Jerry A dropped some money. I appreciate it, buddy. He says, Jaffe, put on your tinfoil hat and think. We didn't have these, quote, problems during the NES Master System days. Get in the game. They're taking stuff from us. What is it? I don't know, but PTurtle does. They're not taking anything from you. You have, right now, more interesting video games being made than ever before. They're just not prominent on your consoles. If you play on Steam, if you play on itch.io, if you go to kind of the underbelly of the PlayStation Store and the Switch Store and Gamepass, you will find your NES, Super NES, Genesis, PS1 days. Those games are still being made and they're wonderful. But so many of you guys have come up just going, if it don't look pretty, I don't want nothing to do with it. And that's fine. I'm not better or worse than you are. I respect that that's what you like. I'm just saying that that comes at a cost, and the business is buckling now. The audience isn't growing. According to Sean Layden, I trust Sean, one of the smart people I know, audience isn't growing, and it's buckling under the weight. So would I rather have an interesting game that's different and kind of cool that looks like Gears of War 5? Or would I rather have Returnal that may not be as pretty as it is, but plays like Returnal? Instead of something that just looks, oh my God, it's amazing. I mean, fuck, man, Horizon Zero Dawn or Forbidden West. Again, I'm going to give it another chance. It may be my favorite game. I love the movement. I love the combat. The visuals are great. But it's boring. So far, 3 hours in, it's boring. Let me get this chat. Luca, hey buddy. Luke has been a member for 9 months. Thank you, sir. He says, hey Jaffe, do you think Ghost Tsushima, Spider-Man, God of War, Last of Us, Ratchet & Clank could have been made cheaper? Yes, 100%. And I think out of those games, Ratchet would have significantly suffered because Ratchet is the same game they've been making. It was just brilliantly executed. The Last of Us would not have suffered because people adore the story and what it's about. The new God of War would not have suffered if you're talking about the 2018 version, because it was a direct, conscious and baked into the story narrative evolution. Spider-Man would not have suffered, and Ghost gets some of its juice from the visuals in the sense of being there because of those visuals, but I think Ghost would have probably been okay. But I certainly think that they would have probably been pushing themselves to innovate a little bit more, is what I would say. Oh, I love Returnal. Returnal is one of my favorite games that year. What are you talking about? I fucking love it. But I'm saying it didn't have to look like that to still be great. Naughty Dog's games coming with groundbreaking animation is what completes the package. For you, again, I'm not suggesting, Fupy, that that's not something. I'm not saying you're an idiot for liking those things. That's wonderful. A lot of people like things I don't like, and I respect that. I have no problem with that. But it's simply not sustainable. What you're enjoying is amazing now, and tomorrow it's in the bargain bin. That's the truth. Great gameplay doesn't do that. Great gameplay is Dead Space 2. Over 10 years old. I was playing it like it was a new game. I was so into it. I'll bring this guy in a second. Let me get... Andre, thank you for the super chat, buddy. He says, do you think the industry values visuals and presentation over mechanics and fun? Not Nintendo, but certainly the console makers do. Yeah, they absolutely do. Because it works. I mean, it's very easy to chart this out. It works until it gets too expensive to work. And then you get into a situation where you got to solve a different way. I think Sony's hurting from that. We'll see if they can deliver their same magic, because they are the best at the kind of games they make. If they can deliver that magic on the service-based games. But for sure, absolutely, I think I think that is accurate. Brian E says, Jaffe, do you have a Game Pass game that can pass the muster based on your values? Yeah, I probably do. I'll show you something in a minute. Joe D's been a member for 19 months. God, buddy, thank you for that so much, for that support, Joe, and for the edits you do and hanging out with us at game night and movie night. Jojo D says, the game Unpacked has been on consoles, and I am so interested because it seems so different than what I'm used to. And it is a wonderful, wonderful game. It's excellent. Cosmic Bandito says, just wait until Game Pass inflates its subscriptions fee. So? That's the other thing that these people toss. Whether it's PS Plus 2.0 or it's Game Pass, yes, prices go up. And eventually there may come a point where they price themselves out of a market. You guys act like this is some kind of... The Game Passes will go up in price. Yes. It will go up in price. As will milk. What were you promised as a child? That you feel that things going up in price is some sort of offensive act. I'll get to Bryony's example in just a second, but I want to bring on this call really fast. All right, this is Batao. What's up, man?
Yeah, so we were talking about Game Pass and everything, and so what I'm kind of thinking is, I think what's kind of happened with the game industry is scope. Like you were talking about even Ghost of Tsushima, and I'm like, did that really have to be open world? Couldn't we have actually got the full brunt of what that game was about with it just being like a smaller, like,
well, maybe. I mean, that's
level base?
The issue wasn't the size of the world. I mean, you can be an indie developer and make a world that's massive. The issue with the cost wasn't the world. I was happy it was open world. I was happy with the horse riding and using the wind to tell me where to go, and I felt like it was a pretty good cadence of unlocking the island versus something like a Far Cry game where it was like so much like shit to do, you were overwhelmed. But the cost didn't come from that. The cost came from having a huge world and then making sure that every area of that world looked amazing and that everything was motion captured and everything, just looked beautiful, and the sound was like, we're going to fly people over to Japan to make, I don't know if they did this, but we're going to, they do shit like this. We're going to fly people to Japan to make sure the sound of the wind blowing through the trees is accurate, because the trees in Foster City are different than the trees in Okinawa. I mean, just shit like that it's ridiculous that nobody cares about. But certainly the game cost more than it needed to for me. But certainly that game did well in big part because of its visuals, because it's beautiful.
Okay, but compare it to like Elden Ring, and I mean, you're still playing that.
Love that game.
And I mean, I have it too, and I love it too. But one thing I noticed about Elden Ring is like, it's not even near as pretty as Ghost, but it's so much more fun, and there's so much more to do in that game.
That's right.
And when I think about the world of Elden Ring, I'm like, everything has a purpose here.
Yeah, I mean, it is a, and to be fair, I mean, that is probably the value of not, they care about looking good. It's a pretty game, but that's the value of that. Clearly is not where they put their focus. They put their focus on the player moment-to-moment experience. And they also were building on the bones of a very successful and very beloved sort of fighting engine and meta level up system and things like that. So unlike Tsushima that had to do everything from scratch, I mean, I guess they had some open world stuff from Infamous, but most of that stuff was brand new. So
that's, you bring up a good point there, because like I agree that they definitely had everything pretty much ironed out before they even attempted to make an open world.
Yeah, they had made that game 4 times before, 5 times before.
Oh yeah, and it's funny because I see Cyberpunk as kind of the opposite of that. Like, because you look at The Witcher, the first one was good, it was all right. Second was better, and then the third one was like, okay, we kind of have an idea of this world, these characters. Let's go big with it, because they had like a handle at it, and that's why the Witcher Wild Hunt was so great.
Yeah, I mean, look, I actually enjoyed Cyberpunk once they got their shit together, but I absolutely hear you. Look, every game is going to come at it with pros and cons and advantages and disadvantages to production. In the case of Elden Ring, it was a perfect storm of what they wanted to expand was great because their core foundation moment to moment had already been proved out. And they didn't need to be the prettiest girl at the ball because their personality trumped the fuck out of the prettiest girl at the ball. So I hear you, and I think it's. But what I'll tell you is, it's not bad because there are places that people who don't only value or primarily value production values can go to get their fix. So
my final question before I go, I guess like my question that I was posing to you is like, I mean you were around in the 90s.
I was around in the 70s.
I mean, you're in before that. No, I mean like making games professionally. You know, like, and you made Twisted Metal and you know, make God of War, and back then things were simpler. Things were so much simpler. I mean, I'm a gaming artist. I know how simple those graphics are.
They were simpler, but at the time, because it was new, everything still felt cutting edge. I mean, it was faster.
Oh yeah, no, I agree. But like, for me to model, you know, like Kratos and ZBrush, and then you know,
rig him and get
and do all that. I mean, it would take me 10 times longer.
Oh yeah, I mean, I literally remember it took Scott Campbell like a day and a half at most to make a car in the first 2 Twisted Metals. And then the new Twisted Metal, which was, it's worse now, but in 2010 or 2012, it was like a month and a half to get a car from concept art to finish. So
you mean like all of it, like rigged and everything? Oh yeah.
I mean, it's insane. It's insane.
I'm primarily a modeler, so I see. Model it.
Yeah, it's getting crazy, man, and I think it's I think it will end well perfectly for gamers who love games, but for the people that are in it for the production value, I hope they'll get used to these beautiful big games, but not having a lot of them all the time, because it's we're gonna keep seeing delays and cancellations because they get too expensive to compete and all that shit. All right, man. I agree. I appreciate the call. I'll see you soon, man. Thanks for calling. Call back anytime, buddy. I'm not really sold by the audience's complaints about the price of Game Pass. It's like if they. Again, it's almost like some of you guys. I know not all of you guys, of course, but I know some of you guys. For some of you guys, it's almost like you feel you were promised something, right? I mean, Game Pass is good now. It's a great value, but it may not always be. And then that's when you say, "I'm walking away." This is so easy. This is so fucking easy. Lord Garter, thank you for the super chat, buddy. He says Atari games were $100 in today's dollars. Was it really that much? Could be. I mean, I remember, you know, feeling like they cost a lot. I don't remember feeling like they cost the day's equivalent of 100, because back then you could buy an Atari game for $30 maybe. That didn't feel like 100. It felt more like 70, but I was a kid. I don't know. Okay, I want to get to Brian East thing as part of the next story anyway. So Brian East says, hey, Jaffe, can you give me an example of games on Game Pass that reflect what you're talking about? And yeah, sure. At least I can try. Well, here's what's interesting. So when you listen to the CEO of Sony in that news story where he's talking about, we don't want to do day and date, I think he even went on to say, like, we're not trying to be Game Pass. We don't want to be a version of Game Pass. We want to be our own thing. Whatever, that's fine. But I think what's really interesting to me is people are like, oh, well, you just have to wait. Wait till the games get announced for PS Now or PS Plus 2.0. And they may be right. There may be a bunch of games I've forgotten. But the PS Now library, which I've subscribed to from the very beginning, I don't know if I'm still a subscriber, but I rarely play it. If you look at what they have on this service, there are over 800 games on this service, and most of them are old. Not old like PS1 old, but they've been out for a long time. like 6 months to a year. And so even though I have 800 games, I don't go, ooh, I'm excited. I want to play these games. Like, I've played Batman Lego. I've played Ratchet and Clank. I've played I haven't played Nioh, but I've played all the other first-party games. And I mean, there's nothing about this that's just like, okay. Now, again, I'm not going to sell you on Xbox Game Pass. I have both of them, or I've had both of them for a very long time. But if you look at not just the newness of some big games, obviously there's the NBA game is on there, but, you know, Sony, I think, has FIFA. But if you just look at the newest games they've dropped on Game Pass, how is it different, Brian East? Well, this is a day one drop. I hear it's not very good, but it's a day one drop. This War of Mine is a day one drop because it's a new version. Trek to Yomi's a day one drop. I don't know about Unsold. I think it's day one. Research and Destroy, day one. Danganronpa 2, I don't know if the Anniversary Edition is new. Lost in Random is old, but it's been out for a while. Citizen Sleeper is day one drop. Loot River, great game, day one drop. Young Souls would have been a day one drop, but it had a Stadia exclusive for about a month. War of Mine is an old game. I'm saying that version, the final cut. The point is, though, is a lot. Okay, so you're asking me, like, okay, so last year, Brian, I would tell you that, and you guys are going to look at this, and that's fine. I respect that, okay? But I want to show you something. So last year, Unsighted was one of my top 5 games of the year, okay? This is what it is. I'm not going to play the game, but I want to show you what this fucking game is. My internet's getting slow. Hang on. All right, here's Unsighted. It's been on Game Pass, I think, since day one. It'll cost you $20. You can get it on Game Pass, okay? And I think if you look at it, I got to enter my date of birth. God damn. Just not worry about getting sued all the fucking time. He looked at it. He's fine. I was born in 1872, Microsoft. If you look at it, it's, you know, it looks like a Sega Genesis game, okay? It is sublime. It is so good and so fun and so clever. And if you don't believe me, let's go to Metacritic. And again, I know Metacritic isn't law, but let's just see how many people kind of agree. It's sitting at an 84 on PC, 7.8 user score. That's pretty low. 17 positive. Let's go see what it is on Xbox, though, because I played it on Xbox. Sitting, who is this for? That's for Switch. It's an 88 on Switch. PS4. Let's go to that. 85 is only one review on there. But it is phenomenal. It is excellent. So Brian East, you were saying, give me an example. I would play that game over. You know, I'm trying to think of. I mean, I've enjoyed most of the Sony first party games. I don't dislike them. But I'm saying, I'm trying to think of one, you know, I would play that game over Assassin's Creed any day. Okay, I would play what I'm playing right now, Rogue Legacy 2. Or I played, now you guys are going to laugh. It looks like shit, Jeffy. I'm going to show you something. It's one of the best games of the year so far is this. And again, I don't need to sell you on this. It's okay if you don't like them. I'm just trying to give you an example based on Brian's question. This game, Nightmare of Decay, I know. Looks like shit. I got it. It's low poly. It's awesome. It's fucking awesome. It'll cost you $6 right now on Steam. And the last thing I'm playing right now is Rogue Legacy 2. Check it out. That's about $20. Whew, Nelly, this game is good. Great fucking game. So I'm just saying, Brian East, that's my answer. Brian East says, agreed. I probably would play a Game Pass indie over generic Ubisoft open world as well. Right. Yeah. I mean, and I know this guy's trolling and I don't mind because this guy, HMAMSB, says, wow, garbage. Again, that's fine. And more importantly, I respect that. I respect, even though I know you're trolling, I respect that you don't like anything other than, you know, I need to see the greatest, best photoreal. That's cool. That's for you. Enjoy that. But you're simply, A, missing out. It's kind of the equivalent of, like, it's great you love French fries and peanut butter. And it's great you don't need to be a foodie, but you're missing out on a lot. You're missing out on a lot. Okay? And what you're missing out on mostly is the philosophical shift that will come to you when you realize that production value is the last thing you should be worrying about. The last thing you should be worrying about. In my opinion, but you do what you want to do. Tony Barnes is here. Tony Barnes. Look at this. You know what pissed me off? Tony Barnes tweeted the other day. Tony Barnes is one of the makers of this gem. If you don't know what we're looking at, this is a picture of the great classic Desert Strike. Desert Strike, one of the best games of that decade. Brilliant fucking game. Tony worked on this. Tony's worked on, what, 80 games? Something like that? Somebody was telling me the other day, or you were telling me in the tweet or something, that there were people who were calling you a liar, saying you didn't work on these games. Can you believe that? I mean, I'm sure you can't believe it because it happened to you. Insane. Fucking insane. Because they weren't they being racist and shit? Saying, 70 ship, not including port, says Tony. Weren't they being racist and shit, Tony? It's like, oh, black people don't work in games or something like. I mean, it's just insane to me. Some of these people aren't even worth engaging with. It's like, you know what? Fuck off. Fuck off. So dumb. This is a great game, Tony Barnes. Did you know when you were making this, you were making a classic? Were you aware this was a classic? Or you were just like, I'm just going to work, man. It's kind of cool, and I'm digging it. Tony says, it's not so much aimed at me, more aimed at black people saying I'm a liar. So black people told you were a liar and your record is impossible? Dude, look at the fucking credits. Look at the shit he's making now. I want to play your new game. You're kind of doing a semi-spiritual successor to Jungle Strike. I mean, I know not thematically, right? But that's one of your company's games you're making right now. Okay. Let's move on down the road. Spasbo says, my dad loves Desert Strike on the Genesis. Oh, between that and Sonic 1, those were the games that got the most play on my system, for sure. I want to show you one other thing, kind of related. This makes some of you guys happy. Other people, says Tony, were saying black people aren't relevant in game making. I know a number of games that would beg to differ, including the God of War franchise. PlayStation is putting $300 million more into first-party games, aiming for multiple platforms. So, again, Sony is saying, you may be right, Jaffe, this shit's expensive, but we're okay. We're going to take $300 million. This is not for acquisitions. That's still going on. This is not for Bungie. That's still going on. We're going to take $300 million and give them to our internal studios that we currently have. Now, $300 million is not a lot spread across, but let's say they're going, Santa Monica's getting a new game along with what they're doing now, and Sucker Punch is what, you're only really talking a game and a half you can make at the Sony level for $300 million. But still, I mean, they're moving on down the line. They're going to keep making those games, and that's great. But the writing is on the wall. And I want to show you why the writing's on the wall. This is crazy. I mean, again, you guys, I mean, I hate it that people come here and they think I'm trying to shit over the stuff you love. I love the stuff you love too. I love the big games. I love the small games. I love them all. But I just can't relate to people who only love one thing to the exclusion of real data. Here's some real data for you. I don't know. I don't think they gave a price for this. Have you heard of Crunker.io? You probably haven't. But it got acquired yesterday, or the acquisition was announced yesterday. Crunker.io was acquired by a company called FRVR. Okay. What it is it's a shooter. It's a browser shooter. I've played it online before with some of my son's friends and my son, and I've played it online with some members of the stream. All this talk, I want to. I don't know if I can show you what it looks like. So this is Crunker.io. This is what it looks like. Minecraft, and it's a shooter. They've got, I think, over 50,000 user-made maps. 215 million users, almost 5,000 available items and weapons. It cost almost nothing. And guess what? The audience for this game, which is much bigger than the audience for, you know, a PlayStation game or an Xbox game or whatever, they don't care. And I'm not saying that to shit on what you love. If you love AAA, I'm saying that just because I think it's fascinating that if you are Xbox, if you are Sony, Nintendo, any of these companies, you have to be looking at this audience that you're not serving and going, why are we spending $200 million on the hopes of selling 20 million copies or even 10 million copies when we could be spending next to nothing and focusing on design and things that are, you know, accessible and making so much more fucking money? I'm saying, just think about it. Just think about that, because that is out in the ether. Crunker.io got acquired. I'd love to know what they sold it for, but clearly they made some ducats. They made some ducats. I'll show you the game real quick. Let's just look at it. Let's go to YouTube, maybe? Let's see what YouTube has to tell us today. Yeah, so this is it. It kind of looks like Roblox. It's not Roblox, but it kind of looks like Roblox. Right? But it's fun. It's a fun game. They focus on navigation, platforming, combat, variety of maps. This game has 50-something thousand maps. Halo has given us 2 maps since it came out. Come on now. Brian E. says, thought about it. Wouldn't the PS Plus revamp be an effort not only to cater to retro, but also work in deals for indies? Absolutely. Abso-fucking-lutely. Yes, I hope to God it will be. The retro stuff doesn't interest me because I've played all those games, but I know there is an audience for that. I don't think it's massive, but I know there's an audience for it. But of course, I think hopefully they will start doing day one drops, kind of like they did with Shadow Warrior 3, which was not good, but I appreciated it. 50,000 maps because they're user-generated maps. It doesn't matter. Eternal says, yeah, but how many of the maps reuse assets and are memorable? Well, A, I don't care if they reuse assets. Who cares? But whether or not they're memorable, I agree with you. That's very important. Probably out of 50,000 maps, maybe 25 are memorable. But, you know, so what? It's not like it's, you know, the point is there's variety, there's new things to come in and play, and it gives the audience what they want because they keep showing back up. Yeah, I don't know, Spazbo. I haven't played. He says, how many of the maps are actually good? I don't know. Probably not even a third of 54,000 maps, but enough to allow, in the past year, 335 million matches to be played. Yeah, Proto says, Jaffe, I'm getting PS Plus Premium and you are too. I am for the first month. And then if I keep it, that'll be determined by what they have to offer. Doomsayer says, Jaffe, thank you, buddy. He says, can I book you for June 18th? Thank you for the super chat. I don't have an answer to that. It's too far out in the future. If you hit me up on my Discord for the show, I'm more than happy to schedule something. I will definitely come on your show. But as to when, I think that we got to wait and see, you know, when we can actually make that happen. But yeah, absolutely. Lil PP, thank you, buddy. He says, hey, Jaffe, what ethnicity is Kratos? God of War 3 is the greatest of all time. So, I mean, Kratos, in my mind, is just, he's a Greek guy. So, is that an ethnicity? Greek? Ethnic? I mean, he's from a little island around Sparta, so whatever ethnicity that is. If you're asking about the actors that brought him to life, he was voiced by a black guy, motion captured a little bit by a white guy, who may also be a pedophile, but mostly motion captured by a black guy. Before he has the ashes of his dead family on him, which makes him a literal white guy, I assumed that most people who were born and lived on the Greek Isles had kind of olive skin, kind of like I've seen in the movies. I don't know if that's accurate, but that would be my answer. Totally sick of onions. Thank you, buddy, very, very much. He says, Jaffe, thank you for years of service in the business and years streaming. Jaffe forever. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. I appreciate that 100%. I appreciate it. It's very nice. Okay. I want to tell you about something. Then we're going to talk about Jim Ryan and Roe versus Wade as it relates to Sony and Jim Ryan and his cats. I know. What? I swear to God this happened today. He tweeted this out. He wrote an email, and then Jason Schreier reported it, and that got tweeted out. So we're going to talk about that. Before we do, I told you it's a long show. We got a lot going on, fellas. But we'll get to the Jim Ryan thing in just 1 second. But I want to tell you about a couple of things that, I don't know, I'm a pretty big fan of some of these things. I have all of them, actually, that I'm going to show you. Let me pull this up for you real quick. So this right here, what you're looking at is, it's called World of Long Plays. And our very own Spazbo, who that son of a bitch, I literally downloaded Nightmare of Decay. I'm playing it on stream. I'm probably 3 hours into it. He downloads it and finishes the game hours before I even finish the stream. He is like the good doctor of video games. Guy's an amazing player. He works over here. He makes videos over here. This is World of Long Plays. They've been in the biz for 15 years. They create commentary-free video game playthroughs dating all the way back to Atari and television, C64, up until current games. Look at this one. Look at this one. That's a game called Raystorm right there. It was one of the first top-down 3D shooters. When I worked on a game called Dark Guns at Sony that was canceled, it took us 2 years to spend a bunch of their money. This and Raiden project was my inspiration. They got that on World of Long Plays. It's a great service. It's a lot of fun to just put on games from your youth. And check out, it's everything you could ever want to look at. It's there. Spaz and the boys over there are putting up new games every fucking day, I think. And it's worth your time. It's World of Long Plays. You can find it in the link tree down below. You can probably find a bunch of Tony Barnes' games in there as well. Check it out. Probably, I don't know if you can find Mickey Mania in there. You probably can. I also want to let you know about our newest member. He's a fellow named Jarvie Rocks. And does he rock? I think so. I'm only just now starting to recognize some of his videos. He just started. Speaking of Nightmare of Decay, he's done a stream of this goddamn great game. And Rainfall. But he does a Doctor Strange review. He reviews books. He's reviewing Splinter of the Mind's Eye from Star Wars. Go on over there, give Jarvie Rocks a little bit of your time, give him a shot. He's just building this empire, and we want to help him out. He's salt of the earth. He's a good fella. That's Jarvie Rocks. The last thing I want to talk to you about, cover your eyes, boys. It's going to get steamy in here. I can't say his name. I can't do it. Kiska and Kara Creations. Now, I'm going to show you some stuff that would get me banned, but he's been kind enough to cover the naughty bits with not safe for work Post-it notes. Here's what he does. Amazing artist who does great fucking cartoons. You can look at all these categories. You can put whatever. I'll put in. Let's put in video games. Like, he's got a shit ton of content up here. Let's put up video games. Let's see if you can identify who some of the sexy ladies are. I think the first one that's going to come our way is. I think this is Chun-Li, right? Why isn't it going? Come on now. There we go. Yeah, so he basically sells them with clothes, without clothes. Come on now, look at these sexy ladies. There she is in all her glory. Some of them are really rare. This is a one-time deal. You buy it, and that's it. There's only one copy. Some of them are prints. He has many prints. And again, this stuff's pretty erotic, pretty fucking raw. Here's another Chun-Li. She ain't wearing a stitch clothes on this one. Look at this one. It's like, I love you. I want to go to the sock hop with you. That's how she talks. Come on now. But I can show it because she's got stars on the naughty bits. This is KiskaKara.com. You'll find them in the link tree. If they're not up there right now, I'll put them on right after the stream. But they're our newest sponsor. And going over there and, you know, either ideally buy some of their shit, but certainly, you know, show some respect and masturbate to a little bit of it. There you go. It's good stuff. Let's talk about Jim Ryan, if we can, for a moment. Yeah, that was somebody from Shenmue. Oh, he's got a shit ton of categories, man. It's a fun site. You're not going to get, you know, they got all the stickers on it, so there's no nudity on it, so you can kind of go in there and check it all out. He's got tons of characters. He's got some Chrono Trigger in there, which I really like. Got some Princess Leia shit in there. All right, Jim Ryan, this is interesting. This is a very strange tweet. Apparently some of the lady folks, and I think just people in general, are probably, I understand they're upset about it. They're not happy, fellas, because of what Jim Ryan apparently said. So he sent out an email, and I will simply read you what he wrote. And then this was picked up by Jason Schreier, and it was reported, okay? This is the direct article. It's not very long, so I'll just read it. This is, I think Schreier wrote this, but it's definitely from Bloomberg. Some staff at Sony Group are seething following an email Thursday from the head of PlayStation that urged employees to respect differences of opinion on abortion rights before entering into 5 detailed paragraphs, hang on, about his 2 cats' first birthday. Not a joke. The email opens by addressing several current events, including the recent leak of the draft of the U.S. Supreme Court's opinion that signaled an intention to overturn the landmark 1973 case Roe v. Wade, which legalized abortion nationwide. Many corps have felt pressure from employees to comment on the case, but most game companies have remained silent on the matter. A few notable exceptions. Bungie talked about it. We all know that. They talked about it. Sony just bought them. In the email, Jim Ryan doesn't take a stance. Instead, he writes that the company and its community are multifaceted and diverse, holding many different points of view. He wrote that, quote, "We owe it to each other and to PlayStation's millions of users to respect differences of opinion among everyone in our internal and external communities. Respect does not equal agreement, but it is fundamental to who we are as a company and as a valued global brand." Ryan then went on to write that he would like to share something lighthearted to help inspire everyone to be mindful of having balance, saying it was recently his 2 cats' first birthday, and elaborating over the next few paragraphs about his cat's birthday cakes, their noises, and his desire to one day get a dog. I don't have it up right now, but right about now would be a great time to bring out the puppets of Sean Layden pushing old man Ryan in his wheelchair, because this motherfucker's gone around the bend. In internal discussions viewed by Bloomberg, which hasn't been previously reported, employees at several PS studios expressed their displeasure at the tone of the email. Some women wrote that they felt their rights were disrespected or trivialized by the message. One employee said they'd, quote, "never been so mad about a cat birthday before." So, I mean, you know, your mileage will vary. Do what you got to do. Do what you got to do, fellas. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. I think, look, I mean, it must be insanely clear where I come down on abortion. It's kind of irrelevant. I do appreciate Jim Ryan's point that respecting someone's views does not mean that you agree with them. It's a real tough one for me, because in some ways he should. I don't know. I mean, this was not released out to the world, but I can't imagine he was like, "What? It leaked?" So it may as well have been written for the world. Okay. I don't know what the point of this message was. I mean, unless he's just like, "Hey, I like cats and I want a dog and I just want to talk about things." I mean, right? I mean, because you know, what did he hope to gain from this? Oh God, Matt DeMarco says he's changing the PS Plus logo or the PS logo to a coat hanger. Jesus Christ. Yeah, I don't know what was the point of sending this out, which he knew would go public. You know, the fact of the matter is, I'm not going to get political, but I mean, maybe there was a lot of heated shit going on internally at Sony, so he had to say something. But it clearly has upset some people at PlayStation. I don't know. People have asked me, well, Jaffe, are you going to talk about it? I don't know what else there is to say about it. I mean, I don't disagree with that. Enter the Codverse says human rights isn't just a simple difference of opinion like your opinion of a movie. No, I know. And that's what I'm saying. I mean, it's tough. I mean, because it gets into a lot of political stuff that this show isn't really. I'm not really trying to make this show about. I'm very much in favor of choice and a woman having a, you know, the right to choose. She already has the right to choose. She doesn't need to be given the right to choose. The only difference is she going to do it safe, or is she going to do it and create a lot of health issues for herself? Imagine the government wanting to make decisions about what's discussed between you and your doctor on anything, let alone your potential offspring. Yeah, I think, yeah. And then you got Cosmic Bandito going, fertilized eggs are not people. I mean, some people would tell you they are. I don't. And even if they are, we kill people all the time. I mean, we kill them all the time. But that's a different show. We can have that discussion, but this is not the right place. But there you go, Jim Ryan going out on a limb, talking about his cats, talking about abortion, pissing some people off at Sony. That's all I got. That's all I got. What else are you going to do with it? Listen to this, though. Something else. See, I'm the guy. I'm the guy who you guys shit on. But all I do is bring you the news. I bring you data from my travels, and you don't like the data, but that's not my fault. Okay? I just want to point something out to you, and you're not going to like it. But it's not my decision. This is from Game Developer. Take-Two CEO contract extension includes more recurrent consumer spending incentives. Strauss Zelnick has been the CEO since January 2011. His new contract could have him stay in charge till 2029. Okay? Grand Theft Auto, NBA 2K, on and on and on. Basically, according to a new contract extension, he will now derive more of his pay from performance incentives related to recurrent customer spending, which is synonymous for in-game and game-adjacent purchases. Basically, microtransactions. Okay? Microtransactions! That is the business. That is the future. Don't want to believe me? I don't care. Take-Two reports that recurrent consumer spending rose 2% year over year. It accounted for 60% of the money that company made. 60% in the last quarter reported came from microtransactions. You want another one? Jeff Keighley tweets out that 71% of EA's revenue comes from live service games. Okay, 71% from EA. 60-something% for 2K. Of course, Jim Ryan's going around going, besides taking care of my cats, we're going to have 10 service-based games. That's what I'm telling you guys. You love the big AAAs. That's great. They're going to spend $300 million. Sounds like a lot, so you realize that most of those games cost about $190 million. That's going away. Learn to play indie. You'll thank me because they're brilliant. Tony Barnes says, hey, you know who's over at 2K in charge of WWE? Our buddy. I'm not going to say his name. I don't like that guy. He's a guy I worked with on Mickey Mania. I don't like him. I never did. He was a political backstabbing guy. I did not like him. But I'm not saying he's a bad guy. I'm saying my personal experience with this guy when I worked with him on Mickey Mania was that of a fellow who I found was not my favorite. 71%. USC thing. Okay, that was awesome. It's like I have a soundtrack in my life. Oh, I'd love to have Gilmore on the stream next week. I'd love to have Gilmore on the stream. Just go like, what the fuck, man? Why are you such a dick? And are you still a dick? Maybe not. All right, let me check something here. All right, that's... We'll save that. We'll save... Yeah, there's so much news. I'll save a bunch of this stuff. We'll talk Duke Nukem tomorrow. We'll talk the founders of Duke Nukem getting mad at each other. I want to tell you a couple things before we wrap it up, though. Let me turn on the red phone if anybody wants to call on their phone and not the Discord. It won't cost you a dime. And while I'm wrapping it up, I'll take your calls if you want to give them. Hang on a second. Oh, I also want to let you know, I'm not, you don't, do it. Don't do it. But they just turned on something called Super Thanks. Now, Super Thanks work after the fact. So if you're watching a video or you're watching a replay of a live stream and you're like, you know what? I like what Jaffe said there, or I have a question for Jaffe based on what he's saying. I definitely want it answered. You can basically, it'll tell you, it'll put it at the time code, I think, and you can pay for Super Thanks. $1.99 below will get you a response. Anything above that will get you a more detailed response. Anything $9.99 above, I will be doing once a week answers in video, and I will put those videos up in a weekly series from the $9.99 Super Thanks and above. So if you care, there's something you can do if you want to. That's called Super Thanks. Okay. In the meantime, let me turn on the red phone. Un momento. There it is. Oh, can't even see it, can you? Call in if you want. I'll talk to you. If I'm in the middle of something, you have to wait. I'll hang up, call back when I'm not talking, but it's around. I just want to tell you this. So I finished this game, Nightmare of Decay, loved it. And somebody asked me on the stream, they said, hey, have you ever played Clive Barker's Undying? And I bought it when it came out, but for whatever reason, my PC could never run it. And I really wanted to play it, and I've heard great things. I realized it's on Good Old Games now for $6 goddamn cockadoodie dollars. So I will absolutely be buying this and playing this on stream probably sometime this week. I'm very, very excited. Also, we may do Pot and Popcorn this week, but I want to let you know that Scener is the app I like to use, and it is now on mobile. Scener basically says, look, come watch a movie with us. You have to have the sub service. So if we say, oh, we're going to watch Batman, you got to have HBO Max. Or if we're going to watch something on Netflix, Stranger Things, you got to have Netflix, right? Other than that, it's totally free. All you have to do is get the app that's free, sign up. You can do it on your desktop, laptop, but you can now do it on your phone. Because a lot of people in the past have been like, yeah, but I can't do it on my phone. And now you can do it on your phone. You can text on your phone. You can be part of the conversation on your phone. So we will start at least the next couple of screener or pot and popcorns will be done through Scener. Check it out if you're interested. We never get a big crowd for pot and popcorn, but I really enjoy it. I like watching these movies that I otherwise would never watch. These fucking just absolutely batshit crazy movies. And so we may be doing 2 of those tonight. Sorry, this weekend. 2 quick things. I just got to let you know. I couldn't let the day end without letting you know this. Next week, Congress to hold first open hearing about UFOs in 50 years. Think about that. Will I be live streaming it? Maybe. 2 Pentagon officials will testify at a hearing about UFOs next week. It's not about video games. I don't care. It's exciting. It's exciting. Next week, when are they doing it? May 17th. May 17th. Hello, Crook. Good to see you, buddy. Last thing I want to tell you about. Check this shit out. It's crazy. A man died from a heart attack while burying the woman he strangled to death. He was out in the backyard digging her grave. Apparently, he choked his girlfriend and killed her. Then he digs a hole, tries to bury her. In the process of doing so, he has a heart attack. He was nearly done filling the grave when he set the shovel down, walked away, and collapsed. Think about that. Think about that. Insane. Lord Garth says, pot and popcorn, a better question will be high. Yes. Pot and popcorn is an amazing idea, but it never works out. What do you mean it never works out? We do it all the time. We just never get a big crowd. Think about that. Digging a grave. And he died. All right, I got a few minutes just for the chat. Let me look at the chat now, see what we want to talk about, and then I'm going to head out into the sunset. I might be streaming some games tonight. We'll see. What do we got? I'm thinking of another Undying, the one with the fish on the cover. I don't know that one, Jeeves. But this Undying from Clive Barker, I've heard nothing but good things about. And so maybe I will stream that tonight. We will see. Eternal says plenty of potential bangers from Sony this year. Really? Really? What is coming out? What is Sony got? I mean, both the companies... Right? I mean, well, okay, God of War, of course, if that ships on time. I don't think it will, but yes, let's assume it'll ship on time. What else? Thomas Isaacs, I don't care. Every time, what is, are you, and I don't mean this disrespectfully, I don't think there's anything good or bad or better or worse about folks like with autism, but do you are you on the spectrum? Because you come in here consistently and you talk about, like, you're trying to convince me about Horizon Forbidden West. I'm like, great, I'm glad you like it. I will go back and I will play it when I get the time, but it's all you ever talk about. I don't understand what's happening with that. Okay, so Luca, you're saying Stray and Forspoken. I have faith in Stray because it's from Annapurna. Nothing they've shown looks amazing. It just looks cute. Kind of like Bugsnax looked cute, but it wasn't good. Forspoken, I can't decide how I feel about it. And obviously Final Fantasy 16 could be great. But okay, I gotcha. Yeah, are those exclusives? That would be fantastic then. At least they do have some stuff. Oh, you goddamn right, Snumpkin. Snumpkin says The Necrophiles was a movie we watched, was great. Never would have seen it if it wasn't for Pot and Popcorn. That movie's fucking crazy as shit. Crazy as shit. The pair says Starfield was delayed to March 2023. Is a wrench in God of War's wheels? I don't understand that. A wrench meaning it's been used to tighten the wheels to make God of War faster, or a wrench like a monkey wrench you put in between the spokes to fuck it up? There you go. Darth Nugget says all my homie. No. Sorry. Jupiter says Jim Ryan will probably be supportive of Stray. That's right. That's absolutely right. I get it. That's silly. Okay. Well, there you go. There you go, fellas. That has been Gabbin' and Games for May 12th. We did a long one. What did we start streaming today at? We started streaming at 2:30. It's 3-hour show. Come on now. Come on now. If you liked it, and only if you liked it, hit the like button. if you liked it, and only if you liked it, tell your friends. Going over to the Gabbin' and Games. Talk with Jaffe. Discuss the gaming news of the day. Spend some time with the fella. But only if you liked it. If you didn't like it, send me a tweet on the Discord or somewhere that says, hey, here's what's wrong with your show. Here's how you can make it better. I would appreciate that. In the meantime, be safe, be well. Join the Discord. All that's on the link tree below. All the ads you've seen today from our great sponsors, all down below. And if you are a God of War member and you want your ad, hit me up on the Discord. I just haven't heard from you, and I don't have your picture either. Hit me up. We'll get it up there and working. In the meantime, I'll be back later in the week with more streams. Tomorrow maybe is a Gabbin' and Games. Maybe not. We'll figure it out. But be well. Thanks, mods. Thanks, all the super chats. Thanks, members. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, callers. And I'll see... Oh, wait. Incredible Leaf is here. Incredible Leaf. Are you there? Are you there, Incredible Leaf? I see you in the Discord, but nothing's happening.
Yeah.
Are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, what's up?
Yeah. Where have you been all week? You've not answered my DMs. You've just disappeared, man.
I've been very busy all week. I've been doing these ads, trying to get the ads working. Still not there, though.
Trying to get you on this show.
I know. I'm on a million people's podcasts. It's not my priority. I appreciate it, and I will reach out to the guy. But, I mean, is this Joe Rogan, or is he just some guy with a podcast?
He's a guy who used to work for Sega, and he's quite big in his side of the business, but it's more like kind of mobile stuff and kind of like...
Yeah, I mean, it's not that I don't want to talk to him. I'm just saying that it's like he can wait, right? I mean...
Oh, yeah. I'm just, it's just something that, I mentioned it.
I appreciate you putting him in touch and stuff, and I will get to that email. I just, I've just been really busy this week. That's all.
Yeah, I know you're about to shoot off. Just quickly, this whole thing about the sub services that a lot of people are against, like,
yeah.
But if it follows the kind of Netflix model, then that kind of enables some of these really expensive, high production value content.
It does. It does, but you got to kind of keep it in perspective because their audiences will always be bigger, even if Gamepass succeeds kind of beyond their wildest dreams, because more people watch movies than play games. But yes, the more successful they are, and the more competition they bring, they're going to have to compete with other people, which means sometimes they'll compete with production value and sometimes they'll compete with just really interesting commercial ideas.
Yeah. I mean, can you see Sony like kind of changing their opinion and going down this route to kind of keep the ability to make these really expensive games?
If again, all this, and this is one of the reasons I guess I get so frustrated, because I do believe in what Phil Spencer is trying to do, but honestly, all of that, I know this sounds hyperbolic, but it's not. The way the industry will look in the next 10 years is all dependent on whether Phil Spencer pulls his head out of his ass and gets some help managing his teams. Because if he can do what he promises, Sony will have no choice but to respond in kind. They will have no choice. But right now, if I end up wearing the MAGA hat because God of War does ship this Christmas, and Phil Spencer goes on stage in a month and he cannot offer anything other than keep waiting, please, we don't really have anything amazing until next year, I think at that point Sony is absolutely right to keep doing what they're doing, because as much as I think Phil's dream would work if he could manage himself out of a fucking bag, he clearly isn't interested in bringing on somebody to help him with that.
Yeah, part of me kind of hopes someone kind of comes in and steals both their lunches. Like someone of the Apple size could definitely do that. That's what Apple do. They kind of wait on the sidelines and they release a product that has been kind of tried and tested.
I struggle though to see how Apple would look at the console market and see where the future is going and go, we want a piece of that. I understand they want a piece of AR and VR. I understand they want a piece of gaming, But I don't think it's going to come from a traditional console. I don't think anybody would get into this business at this point making hardware. I think they'd make software and they'd stream it, and maybe they would make like an Apple TV like they already have for their Apple TV arcade. But I know
they have most of the pieces to come up with a really compelling hardware product. They've got their own chip factory. They make their own CPUs.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, I think consoles don't have a lot of life left. But I mean, I'm probably 5 years ahead of where it's actually going to be, so we'll see. All right, yeah. Leaf, I appreciate the call, buddy. Thank you, and I will get back to your DM. I appreciate you writing it, and I appreciate you setting it up.
All right, then, no worries. I'll hear it from you later on.
All right, talk soon. All right, there goes Incredible Leaf. We got a super chat coming in from Lord Garth. He says, okay, I'm burning my dad this weekend and have my daughter next, but we'll do pot and popcorn next. Okay, so a couple of things about that. Thank you for the super chat. Number one. Number two, that's wonderful that you're going to spend some time with your daughter. We'd love to have you at Pot and Popcorn whenever. Don't really understand why you're setting your father on fire. Is it like in Jedi, at the end of Jedi, when Luke does that? Maybe you mean you're burying your father? In which case I would say I'm very sorry for your loss. I've been there. It sucks. It's hard. You never get over it, but you do learn to not just move on, but you learn to have an interesting but still very, what's the word? Very real relationship with the people you love who have died. At least I do with my mom and dad. So, all right, fellas, that's it. Be well. Talk to you soon.